Pay attention. This woman's name is Leanna. She's receiving the most absurd marriage proposal in history. The Emperor says, "Don't expect me to love you." Any normal person would smash the cake in his face. But she's already read the script. Women who fall in love with this man all end up dying miserably. Today, watch how she lays low to survive and thrive. At the banquet, the Emperor coldly lays out the marriage terms. She'll be named Imperial Consort, but never Empress. Therefore, don't expect any affection from her husband. If she can't accept this, they can end it now. Yet Leanna calmly accepts. She knows full well he can't understand why she'd agree to such humiliating terms. She actually finds it absurd too, yet she still reassures His Majesty. "Don't worry, I understand your intentions clearly." But inside, she smiles bitterly. She's only doing this to survive, so she can only endure under the hollow title of Imperial Consort. Her father softly calls her name, his voice full of concern. Leanna obediently turns around to respond, waiting for what comes next. Her father is stunned by her beauty. He sincerely praises her. "You're even more beautiful today than yesterday." Leanna takes the opportunity to ask why he came. Her father hesitates, finally gathering the courage to ask about her thoughts on the marriage. What's meant to come can't be avoided. Seeing her silence, her father calls her again. He carefully brings up the marriage conditions the Emperor proposed. Leanna speaks first. "I can only be Imperial Consort, not Empress, and I cannot expect His Majesty's affection." Her father looks shocked. "How do you know all this?" Leanna looks at her father and simply smiles without saying a word. Everyone knows Leanna graduated top of her class from the Royal Academy. She's the perfect woman, combining beauty with intelligence. But no one knows she clearly remembers her past life. This is the world of The Benevolent Monarch, a book she read in her past life. It was a typical transmigration romance where the female lead and the Emperor fall in love, and the vicious villainess, who targets the female lead at every turn, is none other than Leanna herself. According to the plot, the Emperor is a heartless man devoted solely to state affairs. Ministers insist he choose an Empress so he can produce an heir. In the year she turns 17, the Emperor finally can't stand their pestering. He proposes choosing an Imperial Consort, someone who won't expect his affection. Leanna fits the criteria perfectly and secretly loves the Emperor. But who would have thought the Emperor's heart already belongs to someone else? It's an ancient legend passed down in the Plisha Empire. A black-haired, dark-eyed woman from another world with divine powers will lead the empire to prosperity and become the Emperor's wife. A few years after she becomes Imperial Consort, the female lead will arrive and receive all the Emperor's love. The original Leanna, consumed by jealousy, plots to kill the female lead when the Emperor names her Empress. When the Emperor discovers everything, he flies into a rage. He sentences her to life imprisonment in a prison at the Empire's frontier. She dies alone. Leanna worries endlessly about how to break free from this fate now that she's become the Imperial Consort from the book. Seeing her hesitation, her father offers to reject the Emperor if she's unwilling. But Leanna interrupts, saying she's willing to marry His Majesty. Her father is both shocked and delighted, confirming her decision once more. She nods with a smile. As long as she doesn't antagonize the female lead, she won't anger the Emperor. She'll let the female lead peacefully become Empress while she lives comfortably under the title of Imperial Consort. Her goal isn't to win the Emperor's love, but to live a peaceful and free life. 1 year later, in the spring of Imperial year 970, a maid gently informs her that everything is ready. They can't help but exclaim that Miss Leanna will surely be the most radiant today. On the wedding day, everything felt like a dream with no sense of reality. Even now, she never imagined she'd actually be marrying that Emperor. Ever since awakening her past life memories, she's lived in constant fear. Her fear isn't the Emperor's cold indifference, or that he'll eventually fall in love with the original female lead. What truly terrifies her is the original ending, the tragic fate of being sentenced to life imprisonment by him. Fortunately, she has no feelings for the Emperor. Perhaps she can rewrite the ending. A maid softly asks if she's feeling unwell. Leanna snaps out of it, saying she just felt a bit dizzy. Then, as the herald loudly announces Imperial Consort Leanna's entrance, she makes up her mind. She will live a peaceful, happy, and free life here. The Emperor reminds her expressionlessly that she's late, but he quickly moves on. The whole thing won't take more than a minute anyway. Leanna freezes, wondering if she heard wrong. A royal wedding won't even take a minute? She doesn't know how to react for a moment. Though the herald looks bewildered, he still announces the start of the vows. He proclaims that Leanna is officially appointed as the Emperor's consort. That's it? Leanna panics inwardly. Even though she was mentally prepared, such carelessness still leaves her speechless. Guests gossip about the perfunctory ceremony. The two clearly look well matched. They don't understand why Leanna would agree to such a marriage, their tones full of sympathy. Leanna pretends not to hear. She knows the Emperor can't understand her choice either. Then someone loudly greets the Emperor. The Emperor looks up and recognizes Raymond. The two exchange pleasantries. Raymond responds with a smile. For His Majesty's wedding, he'd come from anywhere to offer congratulations. Leanna is puzzled. She's never heard of this person. The Emperor reminds him not to leave the frontier for too long. Raymond dismissively says there are plenty of capable ministers at the frontier to cover for him. Leanna is certain he wasn't in the book she read in her past life. Her memory has always been clear. Raymond bows to Leanna and introduces himself as Raymond E. Plitia. Plitia is the royal surname. Leanna immediately realizes. But why would a royal family member be stationed at the frontier long term? Leanna suppresses her confusion and politely thanks him. She wonders if the world line has quietly changed after her transmigration. The Emperor in the original story was just as aloof, focused only on work, but there was no mention of the Emperor having brothers or friends. Did she remember wrong? Just then, the Emperor suddenly calls out to Leanna. He invites her to dance a waltz. Leanna quickly declines, saying he doesn't need to do this for her sake. The Emperor's gaze turns cold. He states bluntly that it's it's not for her sake, but only because of the eyes of everyone present. Leanna nods in understanding and respectfully accepts the Emperor's invitation. She never expected the Emperor's love, nor does she covet the Empress's position. She just wants to live well. 1 year after becoming Imperial Consort, a maid rushes up from behind, calling out to the Imperial Consort. Hearing this, Leanna turns her head. Paul also turns, his face full of vigilance. This scares the maid into screaming. The maid nervously apologizes and runs away. Paul asks helplessly if she apologized because she was too scared. She laughs and teases that anyone would want to run away seeing his expression. Paul quickly emphasizes that he's the Knight Commander personally appointed by His Majesty. Leanna raises an eyebrow and asks if anyone wasn't scared when they first met him. Paul answers without hesitation. "You, Your Highness." Leanna immediately protests. "I was clearly crying and making a fuss." Paul suddenly asks if she still remembers their first meeting. Leanna pauses. "That was a year ago, wasn't it?" Back then, the maids all screamed in fear, but Leanna remained exceptionally calm, asking where the guard was. Paul appeared in his armor and introduced himself as Paul Lightwin. From then on, he'd be responsible for her safety. Leanna looked at him and couldn't help but exclaim, "Such a cute name, but such a fierce appearance. How fascinating." That frank amazement left a lasting impression on Paul. Leanna is lost in memories. Paul calls her several times before she snaps out of it. He immediately presses on. "You weren't scared at all back then, were you?" Leanna stubbornly insists. She almost fainted. She swears to Buddha it's true. Paul looks confused. "Who's Buddha?" After a year together, there are still many words he doesn't understand. Then Raymond greets them with a smile, saying it's been a while since the wedding. He asks with concern if Leanna has been well. Leanna recognizes him as the Emperor's brother who didn't exist in the original story. She politely responds that she's been doing very well, thanks to him. Raymond quickly waves his hand. Her commoner resettlement program filled the labor shortage at the frontier. He sincerely thanks her for her efforts and hopes to help ease her burdens in the future. They agree to talk later, and Raymond bows goodbye. Paul asks Leanna in confusion what the commoner resettlement program is. She patiently explains it's gathering homeless commoners and sending them to work at the frontier. It allows unemployed commoners to make a living through labor while filling the frontier's labor shortage. Leanna ponders for a moment. She decides to ask about Governor Raymond's true character. Paul explains he's His Majesty's only blood relative and the frontier governor. Leanna waves her hand, saying that's not what she wants to know. Paul thinks for a moment. Governor Raymond is excellent at his work. His character is upright, so he's deeply loved by the Empire's people. Even with his busy schedule, he often goes out of his way to help the royal knights. Leanna grows even more curious. She's about to ask more when a maid's urgent voice interrupts her. The Emperor has ordered the Imperial Consort to come to the reception room. He urges Leanna to leave immediately and not keep His Majesty waiting. Leanna is puzzled. According to the original story, the Emperor would never summon her. Two ministers discuss privately that the Imperial Consort is even more outstanding than the Emperor. They hear the Imperial Consort often goes out to interact with the people, completely unlike the Emperor. The highly practical commoner resettlement program was also implemented after she personally visited the people. With such an excellent Imperial Consort, what husband doesn't see her even once after marriage? The Emperor is truly failing in his duty. The Emperor happens to overhear and sternly demands which department they belong to, daring to gossip about the monarch. Raymond and Thalos quickly try to calm him down. Unexpectedly, both Finance Minister Thalos and Raymond think they're not wrong. Raymond praises how well received the Imperial Consort's commoner resettlement program is, except by the Emperor. He complains that the Emperor hasn't even said well done once. The Emperor protests defensively. He assigned the Knight Commander himself as her guard. Doing that much already counts as considerable favor. Thalos retorts, "What kind of favor is not seeing her once after marriage?" Raymond takes the opportunity to tease. "Would you be willing to marry him?" Thalos refuses without hesitation. "Unless I'm insane." The Emperor guiltily looks down at the floor below. He sees Leanna chatting intimately with the Knight Commander. He's secretly annoyed. When did these two become so close? Leanna is summoned upstairs and respectfully greets the Emperor. Seeing the dessert she brought, she looks puzzled. Leanna explains she thought of His Majesty while out yesterday and specially prepared it. Remembering he doesn't like things too sweet, she chose desserts with moderate sweetness. The Emperor feels a warmth in his heart. "She actually thought of me?" He hesitates, wanting to thank her and say he'll enjoy the desserts. If he doesn't thank her, they'll definitely nag again. But the next second he brings up that according to their agreement, he won't give her affection. The Emperor freezes. If he says that, they'll definitely blame him. He's annoyed with himself, wanting to explain that's not what he meant. But Leanna calmly interrupts. The Emperor needn't bother explaining. She said a year ago she wouldn't hope for his affection. She won't have any feelings for the Emperor either. And she has no desire whatsoever for the Empress's position. Seeing the Emperor speechless, Leanna asks if there's nothing else, she'll take her leave. The Emperor is somewhat at a loss and only nods, allowing her to leave. He stares blankly at the things on the table. A voice suddenly comes from behind. "Cake is for eating, not admiring." The Emperor turns and asks when Thalos came in. Thalos replies he came in when Her Highness left. He teases deliberately. "Your Majesty doesn't know how to eat cake, does he?" The Emperor's face darkens. He warns him not to take the joke too far. It's not that he doesn't know how to eat it. He cuts a piece of cake and tastes it. The Emperor can't help but marvel. This cake is absolutely delicious. Though sweet, it's not cloying at all. The texture is perfect and hits the taste buds just right. Remembering that Leanna specially chose it for him, he feels somewhat moved. This thought lingers, making him strangely concerned. Seeing his expression change, Thales asks if he doesn't like it and offers to get him a new one. The Emperor quickly denies it. He says urgently that he actually finished it all. Thales looks surprised, not expecting him to eat it so cleanly. The Emperor can't help but ask if the Imperial Consort only prepared this much. Thales informs him that Paul also prepared a cake. He immediately refuses, saying Thales can take it if he wants it. Thales suggests he could prepare a similar flavor, but the Emperor says none of those suit his taste. Thales's gaze turns playful, deliberately drawing out his tone. Your Majesty wouldn't only want to eat what Her Highness prepares, would he? The Emperor can't believe he'd ask such a thing. He hastily argues that the quality of the cake has nothing to do with who brought it. Does food quality change depending on the person? Thales continues pressing, asking what he thinks of the cake the Imperial Consort brought. The Emperor casually responds that it's good. Thales rubs his forehead helplessly and asks what his inner feelings are, aside from the taste. The Emperor ponders for a moment. He hesitantly mentions a strange warm feeling in his heart. The cake is clearly cold, yet his heart feels unusually warm. He murmurs to himself, finding this feeling more and more incredible the more he thinks about it. Thales instantly understands. The Emperor changes the subject, asking with confusion when Leanna and Paul became so close. He wonders if he should remind Paul about this again since he already mentioned it before. Thales speaks frankly. Your Majesty, you don't understand what your heart wants at all. He advises the Emperor to experience for himself what that emotion truly is. In the garden, Paul hesitates, saying he can't accompany Leanna for afternoon tea anymore. Leanna is puzzled. Is he returning to the Knights? Paul denies it, but hesitates, unable to give a specific reason. Leanna sharply senses this and asks if it's the Emperor's order. Paul quickly waves his hands, insisting His Majesty didn't say it explicitly, and stammers that he needs to go train. Leanna looks displeased and complains about his evasiveness. She's certain it's the Emperor interfering, and can't help complaining it's too much. Who she has afternoon tea with is not the Emperor's business. Even if he's His Majesty, he has no right to interfere with her social life. She wonders what exactly the Emperor told Paul to make him so anxious like this. Paul hesitantly asks if something happened between her and the Emperor. Leanna flatly denies it. She and the Emperor have no conflict. Paul immediately catches the key point. So you don't dislike His Majesty then? Leanna responds honestly. I don't dislike him, but I absolutely don't like him either. Paul panics instantly. If His Majesty hears this, it's over. That's way too harsh. Suddenly the Emperor's voice rings out. He says Governor Raymond is looking for Paul. Paul's face turns pale with fright. He hurriedly greets the Emperor. Leanna thinks to herself, the Emperor always only cares about work. Why would he appear here now? The Emperor says flatly for Paul to leave without worry. He'll accompany the Imperial Consort. Paul is relieved as if pardoned, quickly bows, and hurries out of the garden. Leanna urgently calls out to Paul. This wasn't in the original story. Faced with this unexpected situation, Leanna has no idea what to say. What makes her even more uncomfortable is that the Emperor keeps staring at her. She tries to break the awkward silence, asking if the Emperor wants to try some cookies. Though these cookies are a bit sweet and might not suit His Majesty's taste, she offers to prepare other desserts, but the Emperor directly refuses, saying seriously that he has a request. Seeing the Emperor stand, she hurriedly wants to stand as well, but the Emperor gently reassures her to remain seated. The Emperor takes a deep breath and finally makes his request. May I see your hand? Leanna is baffled but still obediently extends her hand to the Emperor. So sudden and yet so solemn. It makes her feel very uncomfortable. The Emperor softly says, excuse me, then he places his hand on hers. She can't help but wonder why. He asks for her hand, but he's not touching the back of it, nor is he holding her fingertips. Instead, he's unexpectedly massaging her palm. She can't believe this is actually the Emperor, though she doesn't understand. The sensation in her palm isn't unpleasant. Leanna thinks to herself, since it's not uncomfortable, she might as well enjoy a free massage, but the confusion in her heart lingers. This sudden action is truly bizarre. He massages until sunset. Leanna can't help but want to ask. Just then, Paul rushes over to report that Governor Raymond is looking for him. Seeing the Emperor and Imperial Consort holding hands tightly, Paul looks deeply embarrassed. The Emperor turns and asks if it's urgent. He steadies himself and truthfully reports that invasion traces were found at the border. Hearing this, the Emperor tells him to continue in the office. Seeing this, Leanna takes the opportunity to suggest His Majesty release her hand. Her hand has gone numb from the massage. She urges the Emperor to quickly handle state affairs. The Emperor stands to leave, saying apologetically, excuse me. He instructs Paul to safely escort Leanna back to the palace, then come to the office. Paul immediately responds affirmatively. On the way, Paul can't help but ask anxiously if he interrupted their time together. As soon as he finishes speaking, Leanna punches him in the jaw, and the pain immediately shuts him up. Leanna says irritably that she was afraid a bug would fly into his mouth. Then she says she's tired and urges Paul to move along. Meanwhile, in the study, the Emperor asks what they need to report. Raymond immediately reports seriously that invasion traces have appeared at the border multiple times recently. Though they seem minor, they keep recurring, raising many suspicions. However, it doesn't seem like an attack from another country. After inspecting the scene, Raymond discovered the explosives are actually one of the types of gunpowder produced by the Empire. The Emperor furrows his brow, wondering if this is internal unrest or deliberate provocation from another country. Raymond admits the possibility of another country is extremely low, since attacking the border equals declaring war. But they can't completely rule out external forces deliberately disrupting the empire. The Emperor's expression is grave. He orders Raymond to investigate thoroughly and report regardless of the results. Raymond respectfully accepts the order, promising to handle it properly. The atmosphere in the study just eased when Paul brings up the afternoon tea at an inopportune moment. He curiously asks how His Majesty's afternoon tea with the Imperial Consort went. The Emperor's face darkens. He says coldly that the tea was pleasant, but he won't have such leisure in the future. Paul freezes at these words. The Emperor impatiently waves for everyone to leave. Paul, having been dismissed, still won't give up. He immediately pulls Finance Minister Thalos aside to ask. He doesn't know if he saw wrong, but he saw His Majesty tightly holding the Imperial Consort's hand. Thalos is startled and quickly scolds him for dreaming, but Paul says the Imperial Consort seemed to be enjoying it. Thalos, afraid he'll say too much and cause trouble, quickly shoves a pile of documents at him. The Emperor sits alone in thought, his mind full of the sensation of holding hands just now. He even has the thought of wanting to keep holding on. This unfamiliar feeling confuses him greatly. He decides that when Thalos returns, he must ask what this is all about. Looking down, he sees Leanna conversing with Raymond. A sharp pain pierces his heart. He doesn't know what this feeling is, but he's very concerned about those two. Leanna returns to her chambers. The Emperor's abnormal behavior lingers in her mind. A bad thought surfaces in her mind. Could this be his trick to throw me in prison? But there's no reason for him to do this. The female lead hasn't even appeared yet. Full of confusion, she goes to the garden for a walk, trying to sort out her chaotic thoughts. A familiar greeting suddenly comes from behind. Your Highness? Governor Raymond? Leanna turns in surprise, not expecting to meet him here. Raymond wears a gentle smile, deeply honored that she remembers him. He then respectfully bids her Highness good evening. He then asks with concern why she's outside alone so late without Paul. Leanna softly explains she came for a walk because of insomnia. Besides, there are reliable knights guarding around the palace. Raymond nods in agreement, feeling somewhat reassured. Leanna also takes the opportunity to ask why Raymond is here so late. Raymond admits he received urgent matters requiring approval and is now preparing to return to the frontier. His tone carries regret, saying frankly it's unfortunate he couldn't chat more with her Highness. Returning to the frontier, Leanna thinks to herself, this man's identity is unusual. He's both frontier governor and the Emperor's brother, clearly a key figure. Yet Raymond was never mentioned in the original story, and the Emperor's behavior is also abnormal. Why is everything different from the original? Just as her thoughts are racing, Raymond suddenly expresses gratitude for her commoner resettlement program, saying frontier matters became much easier. He greatly admires her for planning such an excellent policy. Receiving affirmation from such an important figure, Leanna is quite pleased. She suddenly remembers something and shifts the topic, mentioning many commoners bring their families. Raymond nods in agreement. There are indeed many commoners with families. Leanna takes the opportunity to emphasize that children's education absolutely cannot be neglected then, because education is something every person must experience. Surprise flashes in Raymond's eyes. He then responds solemnly, telling her not to worry. They will certainly pay close attention to this matter. Leanna breathes a sigh of relief and sincerely thanks him. Raymond adds further explanation. They've actually already established a small education center for the children. He promises to keep her reminder in mind, and will take even better care of the children going forward. So different? Leanna marvels to herself. Completely unlike that Emperor. As soon as the thought surfaces, she freezes. Why did she suddenly think of the Emperor? Seeing her expression change, Raymond asks with concern if she's unwell. Leanna quickly shakes her head, but she finds him increasingly agreeable. At least he doesn't look like someone with evil intentions. Raymond suddenly remembers and shares with her an interesting book popular in a neighboring country. It describes the Emperor from children's perspectives and is quite fascinating to read. There's such a book? Leanna looks forward to reading it. Raymond readily promises to have a guard deliver it. Leanna smiles and urges him to depart quickly. She promises to read the book carefully. What Governor Raymond recommended is actually a children's storybook? How unbelievable! Things are deviating more and more from the original story, making her both anxious and curious. If only she could understand these people and events more deeply. Leanna suddenly realizes a key point. According to the original timeline, it's about time for the female lead to appear. 1 year later, at the border of the Plisha Empire, a sentinel reports in panic that the sentries on duty at 4 a.m. last night clearly heard a massive explosion. The sentries rushed to the sound and only saw a scene of complete chaos. Raymond furrows his brow and urgently asks if there are any witnesses. His subordinate shakes his head helplessly. No witnesses. He then asks about the response plan, suggesting whether they should search this area again. Raymond thinks another search would likely yield nothing. He orders thorough questioning of all sentries and immediate reporting of any situation. His subordinate respectfully obeys. Raymond looks at the chaotic scene, examining it carefully. Suddenly, his subordinate calls out loudly, admitting there's one more thing he hasn't reported. Raymond signals him to speak quickly. His subordinate hands over an item, saying it was found at the explosion site. This thing's material is different from ordinary paper. It feels like silk mesh. Raymond examines it for a moment and confirms this is the Holy Temple's exclusive parchment. The Holy Temple? His subordinate is shocked. Haven't the royal family and Holy Temple always had a perfectly cooperative relationship? Raymond nods affirmatively. The royal family and Holy Temple have indeed always been harmonious. But where in the world is there a truly perfect relationship? In the garden. Leanna keeps sighing. Paul notices and carefully asks what's wrong. Leanna says helplessly, "You don't need to know." Paul is still worried but doesn't dare say more. Suddenly, Leanna screams in breakdown. Her suppressed emotions completely erupt. She cries out frantically in her mind. According to the original story, the female lead should have appeared by now. Why hasn't she shown up yet? Characters who weren't in the original appearing was already annoying enough. Even if the Emperor doesn't fall in love, will she still not escape imprisonment? Paul carefully suggests calling the Imperial physician. Leanna shakes her head in refusal. She's physically fine, but Leanna's expression looks truly terrible. He's still not reassured. Leanna complains helplessly that this situation is 100 times worse than being sick. Paul is alarmed and immediately wants to report this to His Majesty. Leanna abruptly says it's just boring. Paul is somewhat taken aback. She mumbles an explanation. She's just bored because nothing's happening. Paul remarks that she sometimes forgets she's the Imperial Consort of a nation. Leanna looks puzzled. She just said she's bored. Why would he make such a remark? Paul tentatively suggests. Your Highness, why not invite His Majesty for afternoon tea? Leanna looks troubled. We hardly ever see each other. On the rare occasions we meet, His Majesty always looks startled. Leanna pouts. His Majesty isn't the type to come just because she invites him, but Paul urges her to try. She's not optimistic about this. She has no reason to invite His Majesty over. On the other side of the palace garden, someone praises how meeting in a place with good scenery improves efficiency. The ministers all agree. The Emperor slowly explains this was Finance Minister Thalas's thoughtful suggestion. He wanted him to get more sun. He then asks if the ministers have anything to report. A minister immediately mentions the tribute details from various villages needed for the banquet. Suddenly, the ground violently shakes. Ministers exclaim if it's an earthquake. Thalas reacts quickly and urgently orders knights to protect His Majesty. He also urges His Majesty to quickly take shelter in the palace. But the Emperor's gaze is drawn to something on the lake. Brilliant holy light descends from the sky, illuminating the entire lake. Someone stammers, unable to believe what they're seeing. A figure is actually walking slowly across the lake's surface. Everyone stares at the black-haired girl on the bed, their faces full of confusion. They all ponder her origins in their minds. The Emperor asks with concern about everyone else's condition, if anyone is injured. Thalas answers no. A count suddenly speaks up, certain she's a spy sent by another country. After all, how can an ordinary person walk on water without getting wet at all? She might be a mage sent by another country to spy on our nation. He thinks placing someone of unknown origin in the very important person room is far too careless. His words imply the Emperor is accustomed to comfort, so he's being casual when encountering this for the first time. Raymond immediately retorts. He must be frightened by this incident. His words imply the Count is making assumptions about His Majesty and being disrespectful. The Count instantly panics, stammering incomplete words, and can only apologize with a red face. The Emperor waves impatiently and orders everyone to leave. He'll notify them after discussing with the minister and governor. They should return to their posts. After everyone leaves, Thalas asks the Emperor what he plans to do next. He thinks the Count has a point. This person could be a spy, but she doesn't look like a malicious intruder. The Emperor falls into thought, pondering how she got in. Raymond immediately speaks up. It's best to consider the spy risk. The Emperor raises an eyebrow and asks why. He explains it's because of the explosion incident at the border not long ago. Thalas immediately demands why such a major incident wasn't reported. Raymond says he didn't dare report hastily without grasping the situation. He takes out what was found at the scene. This is parchment only the Holy Temple uses. The Emperor recognizes it immediately. His expression turns serious instantly. After a moment of silence, he says coldly, if she really is a spy, we must make her confess, by any means necessary, but for now, we can only wait for her to wake up. He then leaves with his people, until the door is locked and only the girl remains in the room. She suddenly opens her eyes, full of terror. Spy? By any means necessary? Interrogation? These words explode like thunder in her ears. She trembles all over in fright. Where on earth is this place? She's just a poor soul who was cheated on. How did she end up suffering this? Her boyfriend of 6 months suddenly broke up with her. She cried and pressed him, only to learn her boyfriend had been cheating all along. Heartbroken, she downed hard liquor she normally wouldn't touch. After that, she walked aimlessly down the street crying, clutching the bottle. To repay her student loans, she worked and studied every day, barely having time to breathe. She never expected her boyfriend to cheat. She thought then there was nothing worse in the world. But fate played a joke on her. A large truck suddenly came rushing from the opposite direction. She instinctively leaped to avoid it, with only one thought, I can't die. The moment she dodged the truck, before she could breathe a sigh of relief, she instantly plunged into the river. She was relieved she wasn't hit by the truck. Her head was foggy and she hadn't figured out the situation yet. She was unexpectedly enveloped by the warmth of the river water. When she woke up, she was in this strange room. But no matter what, she doesn't want to be interrogated. Before figuring out where this is, she must leave quickly. She assumes there are surely terrifying people guarding outside. Looking around, only the window remains as an escape route. She keeps reassuring herself it's not really that high. But her foot suddenly slips and her body falls uncontrollably. She lets out a heart-wrenching scream. Her hands flail wildly, calling for help. Help! Help me! The expected severe pain doesn't come. Instead, she falls into a warm embrace. Raymond informs Leanna that Count Reagan's residence was attacked last night. Leanna is startled by the news and remarks it's fortunate no one was hurt. Raymond is troubled, informing her that while there were no casualties, an ancestral painting was stolen. Hearing this, Paul is somewhat confused. This matter doesn't seem to fall under the frontier governor's jurisdiction. Raymond explains gravely that it was indeed so before discovering that thing, before that symbol appeared. He also thought this wasn't his concern, until they found that note reading, "The Plisha Empire will welcome a new era," and not long ago, an identical note appeared at the border. Moreover, this type of paper is only used by the Holy Temple. Hearing this, Leanna falls into thought. Paul immediately asks if he suspects the culprit is hiding within the Holy Temple. Isn't that excessive speculation? But Raymond interrupts. Minor signs always appear before major incidents. Paul is persuaded and immediately bows in apology. Raymond waves his hand dismissively. They're just exploring all possibilities. Leanna, who has been silent, suddenly asks about His Majesty's thoughts. Does His Majesty also harbor suspicions about the Holy Temple? If so, she suggests Raymond shouldn't act rashly, but she grows increasingly confused inside. From a certain point, events not in the original story have appeared. From Raymond to the attack case, everything has derailed. What's the reason? Is it really okay to leave things like this? Could it be? Suddenly, a soldier rushes over in panic to report that the girl who emerged from the lake has disappeared. They were strictly monitoring her by His Majesty's orders, yet she vanished without any trace. Leanna's eyes light up. The girl who emerged from the lake? Could it be? The female lead is finally appearing? Raymond immediately orders other soldiers to search together. He'll be there shortly. The soldier acknowledges and withdraws. Raymond turns to apologize to Leanna. Their guest at the palace seems lost. He needs to check. Then he looks at her expectantly. Regarding the previous matter, I'd like to hear your opinion. Hearing this, Leanna suggests returning to the starting point to examine the matter. Unexpectedly, she suddenly turns and asks Paul for his thoughts on this. Paul hesitates before speaking. He's actually thought about this matter. Raymond's eyes immediately brighten, asking if Paul knows something. But Paul's words are unexpected. He admits he hasn't figured it out. Leanna turns to Raymond. You still think we should investigate the Holy Temple? Raymond nods decisively. That's right. But Leanna thinks suspecting based on one piece of paper is too hasty. Raymond's tone is grave. There's no other force that can check the royal family. Peaceful days may be scarce. Ahead, Leanna urges him to be cautious and suggests discussing with His Majesty first before investigating. Suddenly, there's a noise overhead. Paul shoves Leanna aside. Leanna cries out, "What's happening?" A terrified cry for help comes from above. Help! Help! Save me! Paul reacts swiftly and catches the falling black-haired girl. The girl is still shaken. After calming down, she finally sees clearly who's before her. She recognizes Raymond and warily asks who the others are. Paul immediately draws his sword vigilantly, demanding to know who she is and how dare she attempt to harm the Imperial Consort. The girl is shocked and frightened. How could she possibly harm any Imperial Consort? She breaks down shouting, "I don't care about any Imperial Consort. I just want to go home." Hearing this, Paul is furious and wants to punish her. Leanna immediately stops Paul and tells him to lower his sword. She requests they leave this child to her. Though puzzled, Paul obediently sheaths his sword. Leanna instructs them not to tell His Majesty about this yet. She's secretly delighted inside. Perfect! The female lead has finally appeared. Raymond informs Leanna this girl is the one who emerged from the lake. Mia trembles all over in fear. She stammers, trying to explain. How can a person walk on water? With that, she turns and runs. She turns and crashes into a wall of a person. Paul sternly demands. Her Highness hasn't finished speaking. Where do you think you're running to? Raymond's tone is also dark. I've never heard of anyone walking on a lake. Now the person herself has proven it. Mia's voice trembles as she begs everyone to spare her life. Leanna immediately smooths things over, saying this is enough and complaining that Paul overreacted. She turns and says there's something she needs to trouble Governor Raymond with. Raymond responds respectfully. She says she wants to take charge of this child temporarily and requests his help keeping it from His Majesty. Raymond is somewhat puzzled, asking if Her Highness has a particular reason for doing this. Leanna admits she has questions for the girl. She's curious where the girl came from and how she entered the heavily guarded royal grounds. If the Emperor interrogates her personally, she might be too scared to say anything. Raymond understands instantly and promises to remain silent. Leanna softly thanks Raymond. She turns to look at the girl still trembling. She extends her hand to the girl and gently suggests, "Let's return to the palace together now." Leanna cheers inwardly. The plan for a peaceful life officially begins. Mia follows Leanna into the palace. Then she lets out an incredulous gasp. She can't believe what she's seeing. She keeps guessing if this is a foreign country or heaven. She's never seen anything like this in her life. Is this a theme park? Leanna patiently answers. This is the Plisha Empire? Mia repeats the name of the empire, her eyes full of confusion. Leanna thoughtfully asks if she's hungry. If there's anything she wants to eat, just say so, though there's plenty of food prepared. If she wants something else, she can say so without hesitation. Mia excitedly looks at the table full of delicious food and the gorgeous room. She stares at Leanna and excitedly asks if she's an angel. Leanna smiles and denies it, introducing herself as Leanna. She also kindly informs her that she'll likely need to stay in the palace for a while and can speak up about any needs. Mia looks at Leanna's beauty and can't help but exclaim in admiration. She praises Leanna for being both elegant and refined. Leanna is somewhat embarrassed by the praise. Mia gathers courage and asks if she can call her Leanna directly. Paul immediately rebukes her quietly, thinking she's too disrespectful before Her Highness. But Leanna readily agrees. Mia is overjoyed and excitedly tells Leanna her name is Mia. Leanna nods gently in acknowledgement and then curiously asks about her background. Mia blurts out that she's from H country. Leanna is stunned hearing this unfamiliar name. She immediately realizes this is the protagonist who's supposed to make the cold emperor fall in love. She's certainly not ordinary. Leanna asks in confusion where H country is. She's hearing of this country for the first time, but she's calculating inwardly. These two must fall in love quickly so she can live a peaceful and comfortable life. Mia curiously asks if Leanna has a high status here. Leanna only vaguely says she's a count's daughter with connections to the royal family. Just then, Paul suddenly announces His Majesty's arrival. The emperor's face is livid as he questions Paul. Since when did the bedroom become an interrogation room? He clearly said to send Mia to the interrogation room after she woke up. They're still not certain if this woman is a spy. He then coldly orders Paul to summon soldiers and take her to the interrogation room immediately. Mia is scared out of her wits. She drops to her knees with a thud. Protesting she's not a spy, she cries, saying she just got drunk and fell in the river and woke up here. Why are they treating her like this? Why take her to the interrogation room? She breaks down crying. Can the emperor just arrest innocent people? What kind of emperor is this? He's a dictator. Leanna hides to the side, wildly delighted. The male and female leads have finally met. She's so relieved. Great, the plot hasn't derailed. Next, the emperor should take Mia back to his quarters. So far, even Mia's lines are exactly the same. There's definitely no problem now. But the emperor impatiently snaps, "Shut up!" Leanna freezes. The emperor orders Paul again to take Mia to the interrogation room immediately. Leanna's eyes widen in shock. She didn't hear wrong, did she? Not his quarters, but the interrogation room? Then the emperor also holds Paul accountable, deeming him guilty as well. Letting a suspicious spy run around the palace is bad enough, but daring to let her appear before the Imperial Consort? The emperor asks coldly if he has anything to say in his defense. Paul has nothing to say and can only bow his head in fear, accepting his guilt. Leanna is completely dumbfounded. How did it become like this? The plot has completely derailed. Paul steps forward to take Mia away, telling her not to resist futilely. Unexpectedly, she punches him hard. Mia warns angrily, "If you dare touch me again, I'll definitely hit you." Paul's gaze instantly turns cold. He sneers that she's indeed a spy. Mia roars, "If I were a spy, why would I spend so much money on school?" Paul actually accuses her of daring to shout in front of the emperor and Imperial Consort. The two argue heatedly. Leanna watches anxiously. How can the leads' first meeting be like this? This absolutely can't continue. She must stop this farce quickly. The leads' meeting absolutely cannot be like this. Leanna rushes forward and loudly admits Mia is here because of her. She takes all the blame and begs the emperor not to make things difficult for Mia. Leanna explains that if His Majesty interrogates her and pushes too hard, Mia won't talk, but they also can't let her escape. She really wants to help the emperor, but she can't bear to see Mia get hurt. Leanna pleads with the emperor again. "Mia really isn't a spy. There's no reason she must go to the interrogation room. Please show mercy, Your Majesty." Hearing this, the emperor's tone sounds hurt. "Your words make it sound like I've done something wrong." The emperor softly reassures Leanna. "I won't do anything to Mia." He tells her to relax. Hearing this, Leanna is thunderstruck. Isn't this what the emperor said to the female lead in the original story? Leanna can only console herself. As long as they fall in love in the end, it's fine. Mia cries in terror, unwilling to go with Paul. She helplessly cries out Leanna's name. The interrogation room is dark and oppressive. Mia trembles all over in fright. Thalos threatens her with a fierce expression. "Stay put and don't move." Mia shrinks in the corner, looking at the person before her with fear. Thalos speaks coldly. "Can we start talking now?" Thalos confirms with Mia that she fell into the river in her world while dodging a car. Mia immediately shouts excitedly, "Yes!" She emphasizes absolutely that she's definitely not a spy. Those emperor and spy things, I don't care about them at all. She only cares about whether she can get employment opportunities. Thalos sighs helplessly. "You really don't seem to be lying," Mia immediately asks happily. "Since you believe me, can you let me go?" Thalos changes his tone, saying they still can't rule out her suspicion. There's no evidence or witnesses to verify her story. How can they believe her and let her go? Plus, her earlier attempt to escape gives even less reason to release her easily. Mia completely panics. She helplessly asks what it will take for them to believe her. She suggests bringing Leanna, firmly believing Leanna will believe in her innocence. But Thalos sternly rebukes her audacity for casually calling the Imperial Consort by name. Mia is shocked, not expecting Leanna to be the Imperial Consort. She remembers Leanna only said she had connections to the royal family. Thalos says that's not wrong. The Imperial Consort does have connections to the royal family. Mia is full of fear. She carefully asks if she'll be sent to prison. She can't understand. She just got drunk and passed out. How did she end up encountering all this? Thalos says with slight reproach. "If you hadn't run away, the situation might be better." Mia can't hold back anymore and breaks down crying. She feels wronged. Anyone arrested for no reason would want to escape, wouldn't they? Did she do something terribly wrong? She didn't want to come to this place either. The emperor suddenly visits, asking if Thalos has gotten Mia to tell the truth. His gaze sweeps the interrogation room. Seeing no apparent progress, he asks if there's any more information. Thalos bows his head guiltily. This humble servant is ashamed. He thinks it might be better to let the Holy Temple handle this matter. According to past legends, with Mia emerging from the lake, the Holy Temple will surely summon her once they learn of it. Thalos seriously analyzes the current situation. Interrogation alone won't yield any information. He suggests contacting the Holy Temple now and letting them take over this matter. The Emperor directly interrupts. There's no need for such unnecessary action. Let the royal family handle it. No need to trouble the Holy Temple. If handed to the Holy Temple, they'll conduct various cruel tests. She probably can't endure those harsh trials. Since she really doesn't seem like a spy, just send her back to her quarters. Thalos is stunned. He thinks the Emperor has gone mad. If the Holy Temple finds out, they definitely won't let this go. Mia can't help but remark that the Emperor doesn't seem as scary as she imagined. Walking out of the interrogation, the Emperor can't help but recall Leanna's words. She said she really wanted to help His Majesty, but couldn't bear to see Mia get hurt. She felt there was no reason Mia had to stay in the interrogation room and begged him to show mercy. His heart stirs. He guesses she must still be worried about Mia right now. He decides to tell her this good news, but just as he's about to call Leanna's name, he sees Leanna chatting happily with Raymond. Watching Leanna's smile, his heart aches. He silently curses how irritating this scene is. Long ago, there was a monarch obsessed with work because he wouldn't listen to advice. His ministers abandoned him one after another. In the end, no one remained by his side. Leanna holds the book, curious about what happens next. Raymond greets her with a smile from behind. He immediately recognizes this as the book he gave her. This book criticizes imperial governance from a child's perspective. Leanna finds it very interesting. She admits she's enjoying it immensely. The moment she stands, she accidentally twists her ankle. Leanna cries out as she's about to fall. Raymond reacts swiftly and firmly catches her hand. He's extremely nervous and urgently wants to summon the imperial physician immediately. Leanna quickly waves her hand, saying she's fine. She reminds him to quickly release her hand. It wouldn't be good if someone saw. Raymond finally realizes. His face instantly turns red. He bows apologetically, begging Leanna to forgive his impropriety. Leanna smiles and says it's fine. She reminded him only to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Then, a cold voice suddenly rings out. The Emperor appears behind them without warning. The Emperor addresses Raymond by name, asking gravely what they're doing here. Raymond panics and immediately kneels to apologize, hoping the Emperor will forgive his impropriety. The Emperor corrects him indifferently. He's only asking why Raymond is here, not asking for an apology without reason. Raymond reports truthfully. Just now, to save the Imperial Consort who slipped on the grass, he accidentally overstepped. He knows he made a mistake and asks for the Emperor's forgiveness. The Emperor's tone is icy. Since you've committed an error, you naturally must receive appropriate punishment. Leanna hurriedly speaks up to stop him, taking all the responsibility. If I'd been more careful, this wouldn't have happened. But inside, she's very dissatisfied. Why did the Emperor suddenly appear again? This is clearly the time for him and the female lead to romance. Why on earth is he appearing here and making the atmosphere so awkward? Her thoughts return. Leanna solemnly promises to remember this and never let a similar situation happen again. She requests the Emperor forgive Raymond. The Emperor finally relents, allowing Raymond to withdraw without punishment. Raymond respectfully acknowledges with thanks. Before leaving, he apologizes to Leanna once more. Seeing the matter settled, Leanna also takes the opportunity to request leave, wanting to depart quickly. She keeps urging in her mind for the Emperor to go to Mia's side, but the Emperor suddenly speaks, saying she needn't worry anymore. Leanna looks confused, not understanding what this means. The Emperor awkwardly explains he followed her suggestion and completed the interrogation smoothly and peacefully. He's also decided not to transfer Mia to the Holy Temple, but to let the royal family handle it. He thought she might be curious, so he came specifically to inform her. She doesn't need to be so afraid. Leanna's heart tightens. She feels the Emperor is standing way too close. Her cheeks flush. She's about to apologize. The Emperor suddenly turns and says he'll order servants separately to inspect and repair the garden lawn. Leanna is completely stunned in place. These are things he's supposed to do for Mia. How did it become about her? Then she suddenly comes to her senses. She discovers the book that was on the table is gone. Who took it? The Emperor's mind is full of the scene he just saw in the garden. The more he thinks about it, the more irritated he gets. Besides standing so close, there was also that way they looked at each other. They looked just like a real married couple. The more he thinks, his heart aches again. He's so irritated he's going mad. Just then, Finance Minister Thales pushes the door open and enters. He informs the Emperor that the Holy Temple sent a letter regarding the girl from the lake. Looking up and seeing the Emperor's appearance, Thales asks worriedly, "Your Majesty, are you all right?" He's about to summon the Imperial physician immediately. The Emperor raises his hand to stop him, saying he's fine and to stay there and not come closer. Thales is stunned. His Majesty's complexion really doesn't look good. The Emperor forces composure, insisting nothing is wrong. Thales is full of doubt. Did something happen? His tone is soothing, telling him to speak if something's troubling him. But the Emperor doesn't want to talk and stands to leave, only dropping a line. "I'm going out for a bit." Thales asks in confusion if His Majesty means to go for a walk. He hurries to catch up. Thales is shocked inside. This is the first time His Majesty has actively wanted to take a walk. He's never seen such a scene before. He earnestly advises the Emperor that whatever's troubling him, he can talk about it. Seeing him still silent, he can't help but guess if it's about the Holy Temple or the previous attack incident. But the Emperor suddenly stops and turns to ask Thales, "What is a real married couple?" Thales is dumbfounded, unable to believe the Emperor is concerned about this question. The Emperor reiterates, "What should a real married couple be like?" He asks incessantly. What do married couples do? What qualities should a good husband have? He urgently wants to know the answers to these questions. Thales comes to his senses and speaks carefully. "As long as they're not like your Majesty, they should all count as good husbands." The Emperor instantly frowns. "I've already done so much. After marrying Leanna, he hasn't looked for any other Empress candidates. What more should he do?" Mia passes by and speaks frankly. Greet each other at least once a day. The most basic thing for a good husband is to understand his partner's thoughts, but just doing these things doesn't make someone a good husband. Seeing this, Thales is furious, rebuking Mia for daring to speak without the Emperor's permission. Mia quickly apologizes and begs the Emperor to forgive her rudeness. She incoherently explains she didn't mean to, but the Emperor signals Mia to continue. If those things don't count as being a good husband, what else does he need to do? Mia is somewhat surprised. not knowing how to organize her words for a moment. After hesitating a moment, Mia says you must at least show the other person you like them, the intention to give more for the other person and make them feel secure, the willingness to spend more time together and get along well, to genuinely like the other person, and show it without reservation. Doing this should count as being a good husband. The Emperor stands frozen, murmuring, "So that's how it is." He seems to have made up his mind, turns and leaves, telling Thalos not to follow. Thalos hurriedly calls out, wanting to go with him but receives no response. At this moment, the Emperor's mind is crystal clear. He finally understands why he felt that way. Paul asks Leanna with a worried face if she's not concerned. Leanna looks blank, not understanding what he's worried about. Paul explains it's about the girl who emerged from the lake. Hearing this, she responds indifferently. His Majesty has investigated and said it's fine, but that's not what Paul wants to talk about at all. Leanna raises an eyebrow, asking what then. Paul says it's about the legend. The legend says a black-haired, dark-eyed girl will appear, lead the empire, and marry the emperor. Now that girl has appeared just as the legend foretold. He doesn't understand why Her Highness doesn't seem worried at all. Leanna doesn't understand why she should worry. She wasn't going to be Empress anyway. Besides, His Majesty said from the beginning she couldn't expect any of his affection. Paul wants to argue but is cut off by Leanna. She states bluntly that whoever His Majesty falls in love with has nothing to do with her. Just then, the Emperor's voice suddenly rings out. Leanna puts on her signature smile and greets the Emperor. But the Emperor says excitedly he has something important to tell her. Leanna is completely bewildered. How is the plot going wrong again? Why is he suddenly appearing again? The Emperor looks earnestly at Leanna, hoping she can spare a little time. At this moment, Leanna's mind is in chaos. By all rights, he should be with the female lead now. What's going on now? She tactfully reminds him Paul is still nearby. She's worried this will cause trouble for His Majesty. The Emperor thinks she's concerned about this and immediately orders Paul to withdraw. Leanna looks astonished, but Paul stands in place without moving. The Emperor rebukes Paul to withdraw quickly. With him there, Leanna has enough. Leanna is completely confused. This isn't right. His Majesty should be the one leaving. Paul hesitates and states if he withdraws, who will ensure Her Highness's safety? The Emperor orders for the third time, his tone clearly impatient. He'll protect the Imperial Consort's safety. Paul is helpless and can only respectfully obey and withdraw. Leanna furrows her brow. How did this happen? Why must she be alone with the Emperor? The Emperor finally speaks. Now you should listen to what I have to say. Leanna is extremely nervous. The Emperor takes a deep breath. Taking this opportunity, he must make it clear. He admits with a flushed face, I've always cared about Leanna. Leanna's eyes widen in shock. She wonders if she heard wrong. She can't help but wonder if something went wrong with the state affairs she participated in. The Emperor firmly denies. I didn't come to discuss state affairs. I truly care about you as a person. I hope you understand that the relationship between us is not nothing. Leanna is at a loss and only replies, okay. The Emperor smiles gently and offers to escort her back. Leanna politely thanks him, her heart full of bewilderment. Meanwhile, with nothing to do, Paul arrives at the familiar bakery. Sylvie is delighted to see him, thinking he wouldn't have time to come. Paul is slightly embarrassed, saying he wanted to stop by. Sylvie enthusiastically invites him in. She's about to close. His timing is perfect. Sylvie is a former royal pastry chef. Even though Paul arrived late, she still saved his favorite bread for him. Paul is deeply grateful, repeatedly praising Sylvie's thoughtfulness. But Sylvie suddenly hides the bread behind her back. Sylvie says to take the bread, he must meet one condition. That is for Paul to come to her house for dinner. Then she'll save bread for him tomorrow too. But Paul says he has stew made with meat his grandmother sent at home. He must go home to eat the stew today. He guiltily leaves with an apology. Sylvie watches his retreating figure and shows a helpless, bitter smile. She complains to herself, I actually lost to a pot of stew. Sylvie consoles herself. Even if he's dense, if she keeps hinting, he'll understand eventually. To rule the Empire's people has always relied on power to gain loyalty. Power is a force that can be cultivated, but loyal hearts need fear to nurture them. Even in times of peace, the people must have the power to protect themselves. The royal family knows this well, so they use the rope of religion to firmly bind the people's hearts. Thus, the Holy Temple depends on the royal family to obtain endless resources to maintain operations, making each indispensable to the other. Especially after the Divine Maiden descended, the relationship between the royal family and Holy Temple became even closer. This is the development so far, but it differs somewhat from the original story Leanna knows. Paul accompanies Leanna on a walk in the garden, remarking on the pleasant weather. But Leanna is deep in thought. The original was a smooth, happy story, except for Leanna's character, so there should be no reason for conflict between the royal family and Holy Temple. Plus, the female lead has appeared. Their relationship should be even closer. But that paper was clearly the type only Holy Temple priests can use. Very concerning. Seeing her silent, Paul asks worriedly if Leanna is unwell. Her thoughts interrupted. Leanna impatiently punches Paul, stating bluntly that he's what makes her most uncomfortable. Paul protests this is too much, not understanding what he did to upset her. Leanna doesn't explain, only saying there's something he must do. Go to the public library and bring back all periodicals and magazines from the past 2 years. The library surely has a complete collection. Bring back every single one. Paul doesn't understand why not just contact the investigation agency to review them. Leanna coldly rejects this. If the ministers find out and gossip, she won't be able to investigate properly. Paul understands and respectfully accepts. Leanna urges that today's guard duty ends here. He should depart immediately. Looking up, she happens to see Raymond. She calls his name somewhat puzzled. Why is he here at this time? Raymond immediately bows respectfully and greets Her Highness. Leanna guiltily wants to apologize for last time, but Raymond stops her. Raymond responds that the matter is settled and forgiven. Leanna thinks to herself it wasn't forgiveness, but clearly a warning. Paul's gaze is sharp, asking what they were just discussing. Raymond's tone is indifferent, only saying it's an unimportant matter. Leanna suddenly thinks of something, asking about the investigation progress on Kael'vis. After all, the divine maiden they believe in has appeared. Kael'vis will surely take action. Raymond can't rule out any possibility. They're investigating now, but there doesn't seem to be any movement. But he thinks the calmer things are, the more vigilant they must be. So he plans to personally visit the Holy Temple this afternoon to investigate. Leanna is immediately worried. Going so rashly is easy to be noticed. Raymond signals her to relax. He'll visit in a personal capacity under the pretext of consulting about banquet matters. Leanna thinks for a moment and suggests writing a letter for him to bring. Raymond looks puzzled, not understanding what role a letter could play. Leanna explains she can inform them in the letter that the girl who emerged from the lake is safe in the palace, dispelling their doubts. Raymond is delighted and repeatedly thanks Her Highness for her thoughtful consideration. Paul anxiously interjects, asking how to handle his errand. Leanna suddenly remembers and casually tells Paul to go along as well. The public library isn't far from the Holy Temple anyway. Paul is alarmed, exclaiming who will protect Her Highness. Leanna is unconcerned. He's not the only one in the royal knights. Leanna is very satisfied with this arrangement. Investigating quietly like this will surely lead to a breakthrough. Meanwhile, Mia nervously walks toward the Emperor's office. She takes a deep breath and softly asks what the Emperor wants with her. The words reach her lips, but she hastily changes them. Mia bows respectfully. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Mia stammers for a long time. Finally making up her mind, she asks if the Emperor has any business summoning her. The Emperor's silence makes her scratch her head anxiously. Mia frantically wonders why His Majesty suddenly wants to see her. A terrible thought flashes through her mind, making her hair stand on end. Could it be another interrogation? Mia paces anxiously. She really has nothing to confess. She truly knows nothing. Just as she's about to urgently protest she's not a spy, the Emperor suddenly asks her name. Mia is stunned hearing this, not understanding what this means. Seeing her reaction, the Emperor asks in confusion if she doesn't even have a name. She's full of confusion. Why would His Majesty suddenly ask her name? Her previous experiences felt terrifying, but looking carefully, the Emperor's expression doesn't look like he wants to interrogate at all. Mia suppresses her fear and respectfully says her name is Mia. Somewhat awkwardly laughing, she says she doesn't think she's ever formally greeted His Majesty. She gathers courage again and asks the Emperor's real purpose for summoning her. The more she thinks, the stranger it seems. She's the only one in the hall. If it's not something important, how could His Majesty summon her alone? The Emperor suddenly calls her name softly and steps toward her. Mia's eyes widen in shock. This is way too close. The Emperor slowly approaches, puzzled by her reaction. "Aren't you called Mia?" Facing the Emperor's pressing question, Mia frantically waves her hands, incoherently explaining that's not what she meant. But the Emperor persistently asks what he should call her then. Looking at the Emperor so close, she stammers incomplete words. She hurriedly pulls back and stutters that her name is Mia. Mia is in complete disarray. She doesn't understand why she's reacting this way. They're just standing face to face. Yet her heart is racing like it's about to explode. The Emperor changes the subject, asking if she's decided where she wants to stay. Having her stay in the palace now is for her safety, but the Holy Temple seems to want to take her back. Mia is somewhat puzzled. The Emperor explains it's probably because of that legend. The legend speaks of a black-haired, dark-eyed woman emerging from the lake with divine powers who is also the Empire's Empress in the story. Mia is terrified. She has no magical divine powers at all. The Emperor says it's fine if she doesn't want to go to the Holy Temple. The palace will treat her as the divine maiden. However, even if she goes to the Holy Temple, she won't be harmed. The treatment might even be better than at the palace. But he thinks what matters most is Mia's own thoughts. He leaves the choice to her, letting her decide according to her heart. Hearing this, Mia's heart skips a beat. She can't quite explain her feelings at this moment. A strong thought grows in her heart. She wants to understand His Majesty better. Mia gathers her courage and says, "I want to stay in the palace." After speaking, worried about being rejected, she hastily makes excuses, saying she's afraid leaving the palace will cause chaos. Besides, she's not some divine maiden. There's no need to go to the Holy Temple. The Emperor doesn't press further, only calmly agreeing with her decision. He says gently that he respects her choice. After leaving, Mia reflects that His Majesty isn't as terrible as she imagined. They just met, but she already wants to see His Majesty again. She wonders if this is too greedy. Just then, Thales suddenly asks if she's going back. Mia is startled and trembles. Seeing this, Thales looks alert. With that expression, "You're not trying to run away again, are you?" Mia immediately protests that she'll stay in the palace. But Thales warns her not to cause trouble and just live quietly. After speaking, Thales is about to leave. He has many things to attend to. Mia suddenly stops him, carefully asking what food the Emperor likes. Thales responds mercilessly, "As long as you're not around, His Majesty loves everything." Mia grinds her teeth and stamps her feet in anger. She asked for nothing! She turns and leaves in a huff. Thales watches her leave thoughtfully. Hearing about preparing for the New Year banquet, Paul feels it's somewhat sudden. Leanna asks in surprise how he wouldn't know. The royal knights should have been informed. Paul looks embarrassed, admitting he's been busy these days with the tasks the Imperial Consort assigned. Leanna calls Paul's name in a warning tone and flicks his forehead. She reminds Paul that the New Year banquet is an annual tradition. He can't use the errands she assigned as an excuse for forgetting. Paul feels guilty and quickly bows to apologize to Leanna. Leanna thinks to herself, counting the time, it's probably around now. The important moment in the original story when the male and female leads confirm their feelings for each other. In that case, to bring the two closer, she needs wants to create a wonderful atmosphere for them. Leanna tells Paul to return to the palace. They need to start preparing for the banquet. Paul quickly stops her, asking if the newspapers and books mentioned earlier aren't needed anymore. Leanna says those matters can be handled later. She emphasizes that preparing for the New Year banquet is most urgent now. Start with the pressing matters first. In the office, Thalos presents the Emperor with a list of specialty tributes from various cities. The reported tribute quantity has doubled compared to last year. The Emperor reviews the list and tells them to take what they need and return the rest. On second thought, it's better to bestow them upon the people. Thalos accepts the order to distribute the remaining specialties to the people immediately. The Emperor then asks if there's anything else to report. Thalos responds that there's a matter regarding the rebel force Kael'vis to discuss. He mentions that Kael'vis has always been domineering, but these arrogant people have been unusually quiet recently. He suggests that even if the budget is reduced, vigilance against Kael'vis must be strengthened. Those people are dangerous at all times. Raymond immediately steps forward, reassuring the Emperor there's no need to worry excessively. After the attack on Count Rhaegon's residence, all areas except the royal family have fully strengthened security. He assures the Emperor he'll handle it properly without troubling His Majesty. The Emperor nods and entrusts this matter entirely to him. After speaking, Raymond shows a slight smile, saying he just brought back a prophecy from the Holy Temple. The Emperor looks surprised, not expecting Raymond to do such a thing. He teases Raymond. You've never believed in prophecies, yet you're paying attention to this, Raymond admits frankly. But I think receiving guidance before a major event is a good thing. The Emperor asks casually what the prophecy specifically says. Raymond smiles and says this banquet will be as perfectly smooth as welcoming the dawn. He comforts the Emperor that there's no need to worry excessively about the banquet's proceedings. Though the Emperor acknowledges the prophecy, he still reminds them to prepare just in case. After speaking, he signals for everyone to withdraw, but Raymond and Thalos don't move. The Emperor senses something unusual and impatiently urges them to speak directly. Raymond carefully asks if the Emperor wants to spend the banquet time with the Imperial Consort. Raymond emphasizes that the Imperial Consort is also looking forward to this banquet. It only happens once a year. The opportunity is rare. The Emperor looks doubtful, curiously asking what Raymond wants him to do. Raymond pretends to think, and suggests arranging a fireworks show an hour before the banquet ends. If your Majesty doesn't know what to do, try inviting the Imperial Consort to watch together. After making the suggestion, Raymond withdraws together with Thalos. Watching their retreating figures, the Emperor lets out a soft sigh. This feeling of anticipation mixed with fear makes him inexplicably restless. At this moment, in a small town in Plitchia, a shrill scream suddenly rings out. Someone has been attacked, and screams desperately for help in terror. The conference room is noisy. Count Glendon loudly questions Raymond. What exactly have you done about the attack in Illis? No witnesses or evidence were found. How could this be an ordinary attack? It's clearly a provocation from the rebel force Kael'vis. He mocks Raymond for boasting about suppressing this rebel force but being utterly incompetent. He sneers, stabbing at Raymond's heart. This is exactly why the late Emperor didn't choose you. Raymond's expression remains calm. An official nearby can't help but speak up, accusing Count Glendon of going too far. But Glendon doesn't care. He's only speaking the truth. The Emperor suddenly appears, coldly demanding if Glendon has ever met the late Emperor. He dares insult the royal family without even meeting him. Glendon is scared out of his wits and immediately cries out praising His Majesty's grace, begging for mercy. But Raymond remains unusually calm, speaking up to ask His Majesty to stay calm. He takes responsibility. All of this is caused by my incompetence. But resolving this matter won't take too much time. Everyone looks puzzled, curious about the deeper meaning of his words. Someone urgently asks if Raymond knows Kael'vis's true identity. Raymond sneers, mentioning that Count Glendon just said there's no evidence or witnesses. But that's not actually true. There are witnesses. They just haven't been made public. The whole room erupts. The ministers can't believe there are actually witnesses. Raymond admits he didn't believe it at first either, until he saw this paper. He slowly takes out a piece of paper. Everyone is shocked at the sight. Someone impatiently asks who the witness is. Raymond says he cannot reveal the witness's specific identity, but he can tell them one thing. The one who found this paper is one of the priests preparing for this New Year banquet. During that time period, only priests and the high priest can enter and exit the holy temple. As his words fall, the entire room sinks into heavy silence. Raymond admits frankly he knows the royal family and holy temple have a close relationship, but now they should focus more on the situation they're facing. And currently, citizens' homes have been attacked. Raymond implores His Majesty to immediately launch an investigation into the holy temple. As soon as he finishes, someone vehemently opposes. How can we investigate the sacred holy temple? The objector is emotional, saying the holy temple cannot be desecrated with searches. Perhaps it's a neighboring country's doing. Others support it, saying should they let the attacks continue? There may be Kael'vis accomplices among the priests. Both sides hold their ground, arguing heatedly with red faces. The Emperor finally can't stand it anymore and sternly silences them. He says he's clear on everyone's opinions, but without clear evidence, they cannot act rashly. He orders immediate strengthening of citywide security and forbids anyone from mentioning holy temple matters again. Back in the room, the Emperor's expression is grave as he rebukes Raymond for being too rash. He questions Raymond. Don't you understand the delicate relationship between the royal family and holy temple? Raymond immediately bows an apology. Seeing this, he sighs helplessly jealously. He understands Raymond's intentions, but the bigger picture must take priority. He pleads with Raymond in both his capacity as monarch and as an older brother not to act impulsively. Raymond looks aggrieved and wheedles for his brother to forgive him. Thalos clears his throat twice to draw attention. He asks why the Emperor summoned the two of them separately. There shouldn't be other matters to discuss, right? The Emperor is somewhat embarrassed, saying there is indeed something he needs them for. The two exchange glances, waiting puzzled for the Emperor's next words. The Emperor hesitates to speak, mentioning something about Leanna at the New Year banquet. Before he finishes, the door is suddenly pushed open. Mia pokes her head in. Her gaze falls on the Emperor as she softly asks if he has worries. Mia says sincerely, "Your Majesty seems troubled. I can't just ignore it. So, just as Your Majesty helped me, I hope I can help Your Majesty too." But as soon as she finishes, Thalos immediately rebukes her for her audacity. Mia freezes in fright, asking guiltily why he's like this. Thalos speaks sternly. "How dare you barge in without His Majesty's permission?" Mia protests she only wanted to help, but Thalos sneers, telling her to just mind her own business. Mia is furious, asking Thalos what exactly she did wrong. Thalos says seriously, "First, you barged in without His Majesty's permission." Then he asks her back, "Where does His Majesty look troubled? His Majesty looks perfectly normal. He doesn't need you to meddle." Mia stammers anxiously. "I just thought His Majesty had something he needed to discuss." Thalos repeats impatiently, telling her to mind herself. Raymond on the side quickly steps forward to smooth things over. As the Divine Maiden candidate, she wouldn't do this intentionally. Then he pulls Thalos to bow and withdraw. The Emperor wonders why they're leaving so quickly. Raymond explains there are some matters to handle. Before leaving, he specifically wishes His Majesty well, hoping he and Leanna will have a wonderful time. These words pierce Mia's heart like needles, making her face turn pale instantly. Seeing this, Thalos pulls Mia to leave together. Seeing her reluctance, Thalos asks gravely if she still wants to stay here. Mia stubbornly says she hasn't heard His Majesty's troubles yet. Thalos finds her utterly unreasonable. Just as the two are at a standoff, the Emperor suddenly speaks and interrupts them. Thalos looks confused, not understanding what His Majesty means. The Emperor looks at Mia, since she wants to help. Perhaps she really can't be of use. Mia looks at the Emperor guiltily, somewhat puzzled. Did she really do something wrong today? Unexpectedly, the Emperor suddenly asks if there's anything she wants. Mia is completely baffled. Why ask this suddenly? Her cheeks quietly flush. She can't help but wonder if His Majesty is interested in her. But the next second, the Emperor says he doesn't know what gift to give Leanna. The smile on Mia's face instantly freezes in shock. The Emperor speaks somewhat awkwardly. "I want to become the kind of good husband you mentioned before." Hearing this is like being struck on the head. Mia freezes in place. Mia knows clearly His Majesty couldn't possibly have other intentions toward her, but the dull pain in her chest makes her unable to breathe. Seeing her pale face, Thalos curiously asks if she's unwell somewhere. Mia forces a smile and hastily waves her hand, saying she's fine. She stammers that choosing a gift for Leanna is somewhat difficult for her. Mia's foot slips and her body sways uncontrollably. Fortunately, the Emperor reaches out in time to steady her. Mia stammers her thanks to His Majesty, her heart racing frighteningly fast. Just then, a guard's announcement comes from outside. Imperial Consort Leanna requests an audience. Leanna pushes the door open and sees the two embracing. Her steps pause slightly. The Emperor immediately releases Mia and tells Leanna to come in quickly. He asks with concern why Leanna came in person. Having a guard announce would have been fine. Leanna jokes with a smile. She's not in another empire. She came to report on the New Year banquet preparations. She asks if he's available now. The Emperor immediately says he can make all the time for her. Watching their intimate interaction, Mia has a thought she shouldn't have. How she wishes she were the one by His Majesty's side right now. How wonderful it would be if she could take Leanna's place. Thalos watches from the side, his gaze complex. At night, Mia hides in a small grove, crying her heart out. She's full of self-blame. How could she have such thoughts about Leanna? She's utterly ungrateful trash. Amidst her crying, a strange voice suddenly comes from behind. The person curiously asks what thoughts she has about Leanna. Mia stands up, warily demanding who's there in the shadows. The person slowly steps out of the shadows and introduces himself as Governor Raymond Plitia. Raymond's tone carries a hint of probing. However, Divine Maiden, what thoughts you have about Her Highness seems more worth investigating. Mia's heart sinks, recognizing him as the person she just saw. A governor should be someone of high status. Mia panics. If her base thoughts about Leanna are revealed, she'll surely be punished. Seeing her terrible expression, Raymond softly asks if she's all right. He smiles reassuringly, thinking she must have misunderstood. Then he softens his tone, making it clear he's here to help her. Mia is full of doubt, unable to believe he would help. She asks in confusion why he's willing to help. Raymond pauses. Then he says gently, "Anyone seeing you cry would feel sympathy." He promises to keep it secret and won't tell anyone. He calls her Mia, softly asking why she's crying. Mia can't hold back anymore and cries in grievance. She really just slipped and fell into the water. She's absolutely not a spy, yet she's been suspected because of this accident. She doesn't know what to do. Mia chokes up. "It was the Emperor who saved me from my predicament, so I always want to stay by the Emperor's side. And because of this, I had a thought I shouldn't have." She cries in confession that she actually had the thought of wanting to become Leanna. Guilt overwhelms her, making her break down and curse herself as trash. How could I have such thoughts about Leanna? Leanna has taken such good care care of me. The more she thinks, the more guilty she feels, even thinking someone like her should be imprisoned to atone. Raymond watches her silently, then suddenly brings up the Empire's ancient legend. Mia stops crying, not understanding what legend he's talking about. Raymond speaks slowly. The legend tells of a black-haired divine maiden emerging from the lake with unparalleled divine power to help the Empire prosper, and she's the Emperor's lifelong beloved. Mia remembers the Emperor mentioned it to her. Raymond nods. This legend is also considered a prophecy. The people firmly believe the divine maiden will descend again, marry the Emperor, and restore the Empire's glory. Raymond's gaze is intense, stating the legendary divine maiden is right before his eyes. Mia's heart trembles, not understanding Raymond's intention in saying this. Raymond lists them. Emerged from the lake, black hair and dark eyes. In this territory, only Mia fits these descriptions. Raymond shifts his tone, pointing out that Leanna is only the Imperial Consort, not Empress. The position of Empress of the Empire is still vacant. These words explode like thunder. Mia trembles all over and stands frozen in place. Raymond softly reminds her not to forget. The next day, Leanna's voice comes from outside the reception room. She asks if the Emperor was looking for her. Leanna pushes the door open and sees the room full of gowns, her face full of shock. She asks in disbelief what these are. An ominous feeling inexplicably rises in her heart. Seeing her enter, the Emperor greets her somewhat unnaturally. Leanna smiles and compliments that the reception room looks redecorated. The Emperor says somewhat awkwardly it's a gift prepared for her. His voice is too soft. Leanna doesn't hear clearly and asks with furrowed brows what he said. She looks at the Emperor's shy appearance, full of confusion. For whom is he preparing a gift to show such an expression? Mia happens to push the door open, saying she's ready with her gown too. Seeing this, Leanna instantly understands. So these gowns are prepared for Mia. Leanna is secretly delighted, feeling everything is developing as expected. These two should indeed stick together. She's determined to fully support their love. Leanna is joyful inside. The story is finally progressing in the original direction. She was worried the Emperor and Mia weren't close enough. Now she can finally relax. Now she just needs to pick any gown and leave. She's already fulfilled her mission as a supporting character anyway. But the Emperor suddenly speaks, saying these banquet gowns are banquet gifts prepared for her. Leanna is instantly dumbfounded. The Emperor turns to ask Lise which gown suits the Imperial Consort. Lise responds respectfully that anything suits her highness. Only then does Leanna realize the person before her is Lise, the chief designer from the original story. But in the original story, these were clearly prepared for Mia. She's restless and anxious, not understanding why the Emperor is doing this for her. She needs to let the Emperor and Mia spend quality time together. She just wants to live quietly and doesn't want to come between them. If the plot derails, won't her planned peaceful life be ruined? Seeing her strange expression, the Emperor asks with concern if she's feeling unwell. Leanna quickly pulls away, forcing composure and saying she's fine. Hearing this, the Emperor is still somewhat worried. Looking at the Emperor's devastatingly handsome face, Leanna really can't be harsh. The Emperor presses on. Do you not like these gowns I carefully prepared? How can she refuse this face? Leanna quickly denies it. She praises that anything from the royal designer must be exquisite. She randomly points at one, just wanting to finish choosing quickly and leave. The female lead seems to really want her to leave, but the Emperor wants her to try it on. How can you know if you like it just by looking? Looking at the Emperor's expectant gaze, she knows there's no way to refuse. She can't help but complain, inwardly. This clearly means he wants her to try it on right now. She can only obediently go try it on. She curses the Emperor 800 times in her mind, just wanting to end this quickly. This should clearly be time for the Emperor and Mia to be alone together. After trying it on, Leanna hastily says she likes this gown very much and will take this one. She urges the Emperor to pay attention to Mia. The New Year banquet is Mia's first official appearance as the Divine Maiden candidate, but the Emperor says this completely doesn't match his expectations. Leanna freezes. She already tried it on. What does this mean? The Emperor speaks bluntly. The gown falls far short of my expectations. It completely doesn't match Leanna's beauty. Lisa is extremely nervous. She thinks it's very suitable. The Emperor questions her with dissatisfaction. How is it suitable? This gown clearly conceals Leanna's beauty. Seeing this, Lisa immediately switches to another gown, but the Emperor thinks this one has no distinctive features. Imported luxury silk from abroad. The Emperor is still unsatisfied. A gown the same color as the Imperial Consort's hair, but the Emperor says nothing in the world can imitate Leanna. Leanna is utterly speechless. After changing 3 or 4 gowns, the Emperor still says none are worthy of her. Leanna suppresses her anger and says the selection is about done. She tells him to care about Mia. After all, this is her first official event as the Divine Maiden candidate. He should be more attentive. Hearing this, the Emperor pauses, then instructs Lise to pick a few suitable gowns for the Divine Maiden. Lise respectfully accepts and immediately turns toward Mia. Leanna screams frantically in her mind. Go to the female lead's side, she consoles herself. Perhaps they just met and feelings haven't warmed up yet. But in the original story, they had a good impression from the first meeting. The more Leanna thinks, the more panicked she gets. Could it be? Leanna's heart tightens. She's actually become an obstacle between His Majesty and Mia. She must quickly send His Majesty to Mia's side. Just as she starts to call Mia, Mia says the one she's wearing is fine. After thanking His Majesty for his care, Mia claims she's feeling unwell and takes her leave. Leanna wants to stop her, but Mia leaves directly without looking back. She seems to have hurt Mia. Watching Mia leave without even taking a gown, Leanna feels even more guilty. She's full of regret. If only she'd left earlier, His Majesty and Mia could have been alone together. Will she have to be on bad terms with the female lead from now on? The Emperor asks with concern what she's thinking about. Only then does Leanna snap out of it, seeing her poor complexion. He asks worriedly if something happened. A warm hand takes hers. The sensation is completely different from last time. Leanna forces composure and quickly says nothing's wrong, but she can't help thinking, is this difference because His Majesty's hand is too warm, or because of His Majesty? Showing an anxious expression out of concern for her? The Emperor clearly doesn't believe it. Stating bluntly, her expression doesn't look like nothing's wrong. He's staying here only to make her happy. He hopes she doesn't feel it's forced. Leanna emphasizes again that she's fine. She's just a bit worried about Mia. Hearing this, the Emperor breathes a sigh of relief. So she's concerned about the Divine Maiden. The Emperor explains he already told her to come later, but apparently his instructions weren't clear, and there are plenty of servants caring for Mia. They've been by her side the whole time. Only then does Leanna notice there are so many servants. She sighs inwardly that His Majesty did put thought into Mia after all. The Emperor gazes at her, his tone solemn. The person I need to focus on is only you, Leanna. Leanna knows she should urge His Majesty to go to Mia, but at this moment she just can't say it. At this moment, the Emperor suddenly makes a request. He implores Leanna not to worry about other things when she's with him. He reiterates what he said before, admitting frankly that he really cares about her, more than he imagined. The next day, the atmosphere in the palace conference room is tense. The Emperor proposes strengthening security for the upcoming New Year banquet, though he wanted to cancel. He ultimately decided to continue for the New Year's auspicious meaning. To guard against the Kael'vis threat, he decides to have Governor Raymond cooperate with the knights to protect the people's safety. Count Shafiq suddenly objects, pointing out it's inappropriate for Raymond to be in charge. He hasn't resolved the Kael'vis problem yet. He questions repeatedly. Has he caught those people? Has he stopped the attacks? He thinks Raymond only cleans up after the fact with no ability to preempt. How can someone so incompetent protect the people? The people are already deeply anxious. Count Shafiq implores His Majesty to think of the people and appoint a more suitable person in charge. Other ministers chime in, repeatedly imploring His Majesty to see clearly. The people are in danger and fear. The Emperor's expression is grave. He coldly calls Count Shafiq. He tosses out a stack of documents demanding what Count Shafiq sees. He explains these are all reports of attacks in various places after the border incident. He demands who has been tracking Kael'vis's whereabouts all along. Could the person Count Shafiq has in mind be more capable than Raymond? Count Shafiq is scared into incoherence, explaining he had no intention to humiliate Raymond. But public unrest is an undeniable fact. The investigation has yielded no results for so long, not even a clue. Count Shafiq again implores His Majesty to carefully consider this suggestion. After the meeting, Count Shafiq privately calculates whether he spoke too passionately just now. If his son could replace Raymond, this would be an excellent opportunity. But how to remove Raymond? But Raymond suddenly stops Count Shafiq, asking where he's rushing to. Count Shafiq claims he's on his way home and asks what he needs. His gaze is sharp, his tone meaningful as he says he has something to discuss with him. The ministers are all accusing Raymond of incompetence. The Emperor asks Thalos for his opinion. Thalos tactfully says it's hard to please everyone. Then he points out the Emperor's attitude just now might be mistaken as protecting the royal family. The Emperor pauses, regretting acting too impulsively just now. But the Kael'vis incident requires cooperation with the Holy Temple for in-depth investigation. National law clearly stipulates control of paper materials within the Empire. This type of paper shouldn't be easily leaked, though the possibility of someone disguising it as the Holy Temple's doing can't be ruled out. Raymond's suspicions aren't unreasonable either. Daly sees through the Emperor's concerns and softly asks if he's worried about relations with the Holy Temple. The Emperor nods in acknowledgement. Thalos reminds him there's currently a Divine Maiden candidate staying in the palace. Why not use the Divine Maiden's power test as a reason to contact the Holy Temple? The Emperor readily agrees, telling him to implement this quickly. Suddenly someone reports that Divine Maiden candidate Mia requests an audience with His Majesty. Hearing this, the Emperor is somewhat delighted. She comes at just the right time. He instructs Thalos to start with the Divine Maiden matter. The power test can't keep being delayed, but Thalos suddenly speaks up to take over the Divine Maiden matter himself, suggesting the Emperor go see the Imperial Consort first. The Emperor's eyes light up, praising this as a great idea. Thalos promises to handle everything fully so he needn't worry. Mia walks through the door, just about to greet him, but the Emperor walks right past her, only saying he's busy and to see Thalos if she needs anything. Mia freezes in place. She's full of grievance. She didn't even get to say hello, and he left without a word. She forces composure, consoling herself that the Emperor must truly have urgent business. But Thalos speaks coldly. His Majesty went to see Her Highness, the Imperial Consort. They are husband and wife after all. Her Highness is far more important than you. Mia angrily demands why Thalos is telling her this. Thalos is merciless. Stating bluntly he can see she harbors futile hopes. He accuses her of approaching the Emperor with selfish motives and emphasizes His Majesty's heart belongs only to the Imperial Consort. Mia forces composure and asks angrily, "So what?" She claims she's clear the person by His Majesty's side is Her Highness the Imperial Consort, and she only wanted to simply greet His Majesty. She repeatedly emphasizes she truly has no other schemes or intentions. Thalos presses relentlessly, demanding why she showed such an expectant expression if she only wanted to greet him. Mia frantically denies it. Thalos sneers coldly. "Too bad there's no mirror for you to to see your own expression. Caught out, Mia asks loudly and guiltily what's wrong with her expression. Thalos shifts his tone. Is it because everyone's spreading rumors the Divine Maiden will become Empress? So you think you're the legendary Divine Maiden who can become Empress? People only speculate she's the legendary Divine Maiden because she emerged from the lake, but she hasn't proven her divine power yet. She's just an outsider. Besides, legends are ultimately fiction. Thalos has never truly trusted her. Thalos reiterates that the Emperor's heart belongs only to the Imperial Consort. Stop with the foolish delusions and pass the Holy Temple's test first. Hit where it hurts, Mia shoves Thalos hard. Thalos asks fearfully what she's trying to do. Mia's eyes are red as she accuses Thalos of going too far. She chokes up. You could just drive me away directly. I just hope the person I like could care about her a little. Is even this small wish wrong? She furiously denounces Thalos as too cruel. After speaking, she runs away crying. Seeing this, Thalos wants to call her back, but it's too late. He curses under his breath. He originally wanted to help clear obstacles for His Majesty and the Imperial Consort, but it backfired and made things worse. The New Year banquet is right around the corner, but Leanna has no anticipation at all. On one hand, she's glad the banquet preparations are nearly done. On the other, she's suffocated by anxiety. Paul looks confused, not understanding what she's worried about. Leanna sighs. Calvis, of course! This rebel force still hasn't been caught. Paul says bluntly that Governor Raymond has always been efficient. This is the first time for such a situation. Leanna raises an eyebrow asking if he's badmouthing. Paul hastily defends himself, only saying those people are too thorough. After so long, there isn't even a trace. They can't even find suspicious people. Leanna sighs softly. Yes, Calvis's operations are too meticulous. She and Paul searched through all newspapers and books but found nothing. Count Reagan's family was attacked. She can't help but wonder if Calvis is a spy from a neighboring country, but the Holy Temple remains silent, with no obligation to take a stance. However, she saw an article about the connection between Calvis and deposed royal family members. She can't help but sigh. There are too many strange reports. Apart from the paper Calvis left being the same as what the Holy Temple uses, there are no clues. The paper materials and manufacturing facilities are all controlled by the Holy Temple. Unless someone can freely enter and exit the Holy Temple, it would be impossible. Leanna suddenly has a flash of inspiration. This means everyone who can enter and exit the Holy Temple without permission is a suspect. The High Priest, priests, royal family, and nobles of Duke rank or above. 30 priests. 4 high-ranking nobles. Starting the investigation with these people might lead to a breakthrough, but the royal family, Leanna's brow furrows again. Paul is about to call her when Leanna interrupts him. She asks how many royal family members there are in the Empire now. Paul freezes for a moment, puzzled how she wouldn't know. Leanna threatens that if he doesn't want to get hit, he'd better speak quickly. Paul thinks for a moment. He says currently in the Empire's royal family, there are only the Emperor and Governor Raymond. Leanna presses on, confirming there are no deposed royal family members. Paul nods affirmatively. Hearing this, Leanna decides to start investigating others first, and calls Paul to prepare to leave the palace. Just then, a familiar voice calls Leanna. The Emperor suddenly appears, asking where she's going so late. Leanna is full of questions. The sun hasn't even set. How is this late? The Emperor's tone is somewhat urgent. If she needs anything, just tell him and he'll have someone handle it. Leanna wonders inwardly. This is too strange. Shouldn't he be looking for Mia? She still calmly answers His Majesty that nothing's wrong, but knows inside she'll have difficulty leaving the palace today. She makes an excuse about preparing banquet desserts. She'll go during the day. His Majesty needn't worry, but the Emperor's gaze at her is odd. He clearly doesn't intend to let her go. She asks directly, wanting to know what the Emperor needs from her. She calls Your Majesty twice, but he doesn't respond. Leanna instantly understands. Paul is present, so it's inconvenient for him to speak. She deliberately sends Paul away to ask Sylvie about dessert preparations. It's good for him to leave the palace anyway. Paul acknowledges the order. The Emperor is somewhat pleased, asking if she's being considerate of his feelings. Leanna nods, saying she noticed His Majesty minded. She signals the Emperor can speak freely now. The Emperor finally speaks, his tone carrying a hint of barely perceptible nervousness. He says slowly, at the upcoming banquet, may I stay by your side? Leanna freezes on the spot, her face full of disbelief. Seeing this, the Emperor hastily adds that he wants to spend the banquet with her. She's completely baffled. These lines are supposed to be said to Mia. Paul arrives at the dessert shop outside the palace, only to hear Sylvie say they're closed for the day. He's somewhat disappointed. Is he late again? But she suddenly changes her tune. Sylvie enthusiastically approaches, saying if it's him, that's another matter. She invites him to come in quickly. Sylvie teases that Paul must be here for tiramisu. No wonder she didn't want to close today. But Paul is oblivious, stating bluntly that if he comes late next time, he'll just come another day. Sylvie doesn't agree. How can she let a customer she hasn't seen in so long just leave? Paul doesn't understand, saying directly just asking him to leave would be fine. Hearing this, Sylvie is somewhat speechless. She directly pulls Paul inside. Paul quickly pulls back his hand and refuses. He came today for the banquet, dessert matter, commissioned by Her Highness. He'll tell her the time and quantity needed later. Sylvie suppresses her disappointment, asking if Paul doesn't have urgent business. Staying a bit longer wouldn't hurt. Seeing Paul's expression is off, Sylvie worries if something bad happened. Paul admits frankly his grandmother is waiting at home and prepared turkey to season together, so he needs to return early. Sylvie instantly bristles. She can't even compete with a turkey! She still suppresses her anger and takes out cookies she prepared for Paul to bring back and share with his grandmother. Then she changes the subject, tentatively asking if Paul has found a dance partner for the banquet. Paul doesn't understand why he would need to dance, leaving Sylvie speechless. Sylvie emphasizes this is a banquet that only happens once a year. She's helping prepare desserts for the Imperial Consort and will take the opportunity to visit the palace. Just delivering desserts would be a waste. She hints to Paul that she wants to dance at the New Year ball but hasn't found a partner yet. She asks Paul back, "As Knight Commander, you'll attend too. Have you found a dance partner?" She's secretly delighted. She's never heard of Paul dancing with other young ladies. This time is certain. She's dropped so many hints. Paul should understand by now, right? Just as Sylvie is about to invite him to be her partner, Paul interrupts. "Even without a partner, you can enter." Sylvie's head is full of questions. What is this blockhead saying? Paul keeps stabbing. Not having a dance partner isn't shameful. She should attend openly. Besides, on the day of the banquet, he needs to prepare early and can't dance with her. Sylvie can't stand it anymore. "This is so frustrating," she yells at Paul angrily. "Why can't you understand? I mean, I want to go with you. How can you be Her Highness, guard being this dense? Can you even cook? Your grandmother does it all. You just eat. How early do you really need to go home?" Sylvie's momentum is overpowering. She orders Paul to repeat after her. "Dance with me at the ball." Paul wants to protest, saying he really has things to do, but Sylvie glares him down and roars, "Say it!" Paul is completely intimidated and stammers out, "Dance with me at the ball." Hearing this, Sylvie nods with satisfaction. She stuffs the cookies and tiramisu into Paul's hands, telling him to take them. Sylvie waves with a smile, reminding Paul to see her at the ball. Paul complains aggrievedly that Sylvie is too much. She retorts that Paul is the one who's too much, and urges him to leave quickly. After he leaves, she can't help but complain that this jerk is so bad at reading the room. In the blink of an eye, it's the day of the Plisha Empire's New Year banquet. A noble lady sighs that this year's banquet security is even stricter than last year. Even personal belongings are searched. They gossip endlessly, speculating whether the Emperor and Imperial Consort will still enter separately this year. Her Highness always entered alone in the past. So pitiful. But what they don't know is the Emperor has already asked Leanna to let him accompany her. He wants to spend the year's end and the New Year's beginning with Leanna. Leanna is full of doubt. These words should be said to the female lead. How are they being said to her? But looking at the Emperor's sincere gaze, she simply can't refuse. She also doesn't want to avoid the Emperor's gaze like this. In the end, Leanna nods and agrees. The Emperor smiles. He promises Leanna he'll give her unforgettable memories. She can't help thinking the female lead was probably attracted by this gaze of the Emperor's. And the original Leanna always craved this kind of affection and attention too. On the day of the banquet, the Emperor gently calls Leanna's name. The herald announces loudly that His Majesty the Emperor and Her Highness the Imperial Consort are about to enter. Everyone applauds enthusiastically, welcoming the Empire's Emperor and Imperial Consort. A few days before the New Year banquet, Leanna still didn't understand why she needed to practice dancing. Paul reminded her the banquet was coming soon. Seeing her play dumb, he hesitantly asked if she didn't plan to dance with the Emperor. Leanna denied it without thinking. The Emperor isn't someone who enjoys banquets. How would he invite her to dance? Recalling that certainty now, she only feels embarrassed. The herald announces loudly, the Emperor and Imperial Consort Leanna enter. Everyone salutes in unison, wishing the Plisha Empire eternal glory. Leanna's heart is uneasy. In the original story, it wasn't her who entered with the Emperor. It should have been the female lead, Mia. The plot has already deviated from the original trajectory. Seeing her expression is off, the Emperor asks with concern if she feels uncomfortable. She quickly waves her hand in denial. She claims it's just nerves from entering for the first time and thanks him for his concern. But inside she's full of unease, clearly anxious yet having to pretend to be happy. The Emperor, who never attends banquets, actually said he wants to spend time with her, leaving the female lead aside. But she can't tell him she's afraid she'll end up imprisoned. The Emperor suddenly speaks, suggesting they enter side by side like this next year too. Suddenly he speaks again, saying they should stay together like this year after year. The phrase "I want to spend the rest of my life with you" completely panics her. She desperately tries to remember how Leanna in the original story would respond to such words. But no matter how hard she tries, she can't recall what the original Leanna was like. The Emperor leans down again to ask if she's willing, his eyes full of expectation. She can't remember anything, only the book's description of His Majesty's captivating eyes. Leanna can only force composure and agree. "Of course I'm willing, Your Majesty." Hearing this, the Emperor reflects. "I always thought these banquets were meaningless before, but Leanna doesn't think so. She believes everyone comes with full expectations." Just as she finishes speaking, she suddenly freezes. She notices the surrounding gazes becoming increasingly intense. She looks around anxiously, constantly doubting herself, thinking something went wrong. Only after seeing their outfits clearly does she understand. The Emperor deliberately wore similar clothes to match her. Seeing her flushed cheeks, the Emperor softly asks if she feels hot. Leanna quickly denies it. She finally understands why everyone keeps looking at them. This matching outfit is clearly something only lovers would wear. She gazes at the Emperor's profile, just about to praise how especially handsome he looks today. A crisp "Your Majesty" rings out, breaking the moment of warmth. Mia steps forward to bow and thank His Majesty. Turning her head and catching Talus's gaze, she's so scared her speech becomes stuttered. Mia is somewhat guilty, stammering her gratitude to the Emperor. Leanna's heart stings. She suddenly remembers she's not the protagonist of this story. Mia takes a deep breath. She gathers courage and asks if the Emperor can dance one dance with her. Leanna on the side looks disappointed. Now that the two protagonists have met, she as a supporting character should leave. Next, they'll dance the first dance together. She'll just quietly return to Rasenka Palace. She's closer to the peaceful, leisurely days she hopes for, but Leanna can't feel happy at all. Leanna consoles herself. This is all psychological. After eating some sweets, she'll be fine. Otherwise, she'll just go back with Paul. Just as she's lost in thought, the Emperor tells Mia to go back. He'll pretend he didn't hear today's request. He also says he's already made plans with Leanna. Today he'll completely and entirely accompany only her. Mia forces composure to explain she just asked casually since the ball was starting. After speaking, she hastily bows in apology, her tone carrying disappointment. Leanna's eyes widen, her face full of confusion. What's going on? In the original story, they're clearly the protagonists. How can she just leave like this? Why doesn't His Majesty ask Mia to stay? He just watches her leave. Has the plot deviated from the original again? Alarm bells ring in Leanna's heart. The sudden music breaks the silence. The Emperor reminds Leanna it's time. The Emperor asks gently, "May I have the honor of dancing with you?" He gently calls her name and then kneels on one knee. Leanna's eyes widen in shock. She can't believe this scene before her eyes. According to the original story at this banquet, His Majesty should be spending the entire time with Mia, but the flutter in her heart doesn't lie. Spending time with His Majesty doesn't seem bad. She bows. "It's my honor to dance with your Majesty." Seeing the Emperor frozen, she quickly reminds him everyone is waiting. She urges him to start quickly. The Emperor gazes at her with a slight smile and says softly, "This is our first dance together." Leanna smiles and corrects him. "This isn't the first time. We danced at the wedding too. That was the wedding 2 years ago. It's just that the atmosphere was particularly awkward then." But the Emperor shakes his head in denial, saying that didn't count as dancing together. They didn't even make eye contact then. And now, this is the first time he's seen her smile so happily. Leanna's cheeks flush. She softly thanks His Majesty for his favor. The Emperor's gaze is sincere. He confesses again, "I've actually always cared about you." He pauses and adds, "This care may have already crossed boundaries." When the words "I like you" fall, Leanna is thunderstruck. Her mind goes blank. He doesn't like Mia but likes her? These are lines from the original story. Why are lines meant for Mia being said to her? Seeing her dazed, the Emperor is somewhat worried. Leanna keeps thinking. In the original, after the female lead hears this, she's threatened by the supporting character Leanna. This makes her can't help but suspect. Has the plot completely reversed? Has she become Mia's role? Unable to accept this, ignoring the Emperor's calls, she turns and flees. She just wanted to avoid the miserable fate of imprisonment. Now is she becoming the female lead whose life is threatened? In the original story, besides the Emperor, no one stands on the female lead side. In a court full of enemies on all sides, how can she survive? Meanwhile, Thalos approaches Mia proactively, inviting her to dance. He has something important to tell her privately. Mia impatiently asks what Thalos wants to say, but Thalos plays coy, complaining she's too impatient. At least dance one dance with the saint candidate first. Mia is completely impatient, saying bluntly she's not in the mood for this. Seeing Mia's firm attitude, Thalos finally decides to get straight to the point. The phrase "let go of inappropriate desires" makes Mia freeze instantly. Thalos speaks earnestly, advising her not to be deluded by legends and develop unnecessary desires. He emphasizes that legends are just legends in the end. The Empire is stable now, and His Majesty's heart belongs to only one person. He says bluntly that expecting the Emperor's affection is greedy. He advises her to stop hoping. After hearing this, Mia stubbornly turns her head away. She really wants to just ignore the finance minister's words, but her gaze sweeps over the two people on the dance floor. In the end, her heart softens. She clearly sees His Majesty's happiness at this moment, more radiant than ever before. Mia states firmly, she will never hurt others for personal happiness. She openly thanks Thalos for his advice, but she doesn't forget to complain that Thalos's earlier attitude was too rude and harsh to hear. Thalos coughs awkwardly. "I was too harsh last time. I apologize, Saint Candidate." Mia teases that she didn't expect the finance minister to admit fault. But her name is Mia, not Saint Candidate. Thalos looks puzzled. Is the title really that important? Mia instantly bristles, emphasizing it's very important. She accuses Thalos' title and tone of being full of self-righteous arrogance. The Emperor suddenly rushes over, urgently asking Thalos if he's seen Leanna. Thalos looks astonished. Shouldn't the Imperial Consort be with His Majesty? The Emperor says dejectedly that Leanna suddenly ran away mid-dance. He can't figure out what he did wrong. In the corner, Leanna is still unsettled by that confession. In the original story, those words of affection should have been said to Mia. A terrifying thought emerges. Has she taken on Mia's role? Leanna trembles with fear. In the original story, the one who threatened Mia was Leanna. Now that roles are reversed, will Mia be the one trying to kill her? This thought sends chills down her spine. After all, the plot hasn't deviated much from the original. The more she thinks, the more panicked she becomes, completely unsure how to handle this situation. Just as she's on the verge of breakdown, Raymond opens the balcony door, asking in confusion why Her Majesty is here. He quickly apologizes for his rudeness, asking if something has happened. Leanna forces composure, lying that she just feels a bit dizzy. She'll return after resting briefly, telling Raymond not to worry. Raymond gently suggests he can stay with her, or if it's awkward, he can call the ladies in waiting. He insists the Imperial Consort cannot be left alone. Leanna looks carefully, and notices Raymond and the Emperor look remarkably alike, yet different. A strange thought emerges. What would Raymond do? If he faced the plot from the book in a past life, how would he handle it all? Though this idea is absurd, she can't help but be curious. She looks up and asks, "Governor Raymond, do you believe in past lives?" Past lives? Raymond ponders, then shakes his head with a smile. He's never thought about past lives. Leanna feels instantly embarrassed, mockingly calling it a stupid question, bringing up past lives out of nowhere, thinking Raymond would understand. She feels like a fool. She quickly explains she was just asking casually. Past lives can't possibly exist. Then she rallies herself, saying she's fine and Raymond needn't worry. Suddenly remembering she ran off abruptly, His Majesty must be startled. She asks Raymond to tell His Majesty she'll return after after a brief rest, but Raymond suddenly speaks, stopping Leanna as she's about to turn. He thinks seriously. If someone were reborn with memories of a past life, that would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and surely the gods would hope that person wouldn't miss their chance again. Raymond scratches his head, saying with a smile that's just his thought. Hearing this, Leanna is touched. Raymond thinks his words are unrealistic and awkwardly apologizes. Leanna quickly affirms he's absolutely right. She has an epiphany. This isn't the story's ending yet. Worrying about an uncertain future is meaningless, though there are some deviations from the original. The general direction of development hasn't changed. Everything will be fine. Leanna rallies herself. Raymond nods gently, telling her to compose herself before returning. He'll relay her message to His Majesty. Leanna can't help but call him back, wanting to know why he thinks this way. Hearing this, Raymond looks puzzled. She stammers that she's just purely curious. Curious why he would think this way, and even more curious whether he'd change this view if the future were already set in stone. She's actually somewhat worried about past memories. Though she says this, what she really cares about is the novel she read. Getting no response, she quickly covers for herself, saying she spoke unnecessarily again. But Raymond responds seriously. Not unnecessary at all. After all, this concerns Her Majesty, the Imperial Consort. Raymond admits he also has painful memories. He once denied all the world's beauty because of his painful past, wrapped in resentment every day, living in unbearable pain. He even had thoughts of inflicting all the pain he endured back on others. Leanna is shocked. She never expected Raymond to have had such experiences. She can't help but ask what happened, but Raymond doesn't want to elaborate, saying it was just childhood confusion. Leanna carefully asks if he's overcome that past. Raymond admits honestly he's still working on it, but he believes, even if the future is set in stone, there must be a way to change it. Leanna's heart jolts. Raymond's words awaken her. No need to worry about things that haven't happened yet. Everything will work out. Because she already knows the original ending, she can prepare in advance. Suddenly, a bang sounds as fireworks bloom in the night sky. Raymond slaps his forehead, just remembering. He tells Leanna this fireworks display was specially prepared by His Majesty for her. He urges Leanna to compose herself quickly and rejoin His Majesty. As soon as he finishes speaking, an arrow suddenly cuts through the air. Raymond reacts swiftly, immediately pulling Leanna to the ground to avoid the attack. Leanna falls to the ground, her eyes full of terror. What's happening here? To dare an assassination on a day like this? Raymond is both shocked and furious, urgently shielding Leanna and telling her to get inside. Leanna feels cold all over. This plot never happened to either Leanna or Mia in the original. Raymond nervously apologizes to Leanna for his earlier action. He instructs Leanna to stay low and not move. When he gives the signal, slowly move toward the door. Leanna is already terrified, unable to understand what's happening. How did it come to this? She thought knowing the future would let her change it, but she seems unable to change anything. Is what she knows truly her fate? In the original, Leanna was born into nobility and lived a carefree life. She could do anything she wanted and have anything she desired. The only thing she couldn't have was the Emperor's love. And for this, she did unforgivable things. Her crimes were eventually exposed, and she was imprisoned for life. This was the perpetually unhappy ending for Leanna that she knew. So to avoid this ending, she worked hard not to become the villainess from the original. Not only did she not covet the Emperor's love, she also treated the female lead kindly, trying not to obstruct the protagonist's romance. But this assault has made all her efforts come to nothing. Immersed in despair, she sees Raymond anxiously trying to bring her back to her senses, telling her to look at him. But it's useless. Leanna anxiously wonders if she'll die in this assault. No matter how she struggles, Leanna is destined for a tragic ending. Raymond can't take it anymore and shakes her shoulders, shouting loudly, "Your Majesty!" This shout finally brings Leanna back to her senses. She looks up blankly. Raymond quickly instructs her. The attack has paused. Use this moment to get back to the banquet. He explains the attack noise drowned out the fireworks, so people inside don't know what's happening. Waiting for rescue will be difficult, so they can only save themselves. Raymond tells Leanna to listen to him. As soon as he signals move toward the door, Leanna trembles with fear, not believing his actions can make any difference. She worries doing the wrong thing will make matters worse. It seems nothing she does matters. Seeing through her hesitation, Raymond emphasizes this attack is Kaelvis's doing. The arrows are the same as before, only they would do something like this. He tells Leanna that for the Empire's safety, she must act quickly. He reassures her the distance isn't far. He'll protect her. Please trust him. Leanna finally finds courage, nodding in agreement and urging herself to stay strong. Following instructions, Leanna moves with difficulty, bent over. She keeps reminding herself not to let others fall into danger. Finally, she reaches the door. Now she'll be safe once the door is open. But just as she's about to touch the handle, an arrow cuts through the air. Raymond notices and immediately shields Leanna. The impact of the piercing arrow sends them both tumbling through the door. Inside erupts into chaos as everyone is stunned by this sudden situation. Leanna turns back in terror, calling Raymond's name, her tone full of panic. Raymond forces a smile, reassuring her he's fine. Everyone approaches with concern, asking if Her Majesty is all right. Raymond struggles to tell Leanna to get inside quickly, and asks her to forgive his impropriety, his voice extremely weak. Before he finishes speaking, he collapses to the ground. Now everyone completely erupts into panic. screaming in alarm. It's an attack! Run for your lives! Only Leanna keeps calling Raymond's name with worry. Meanwhile, the Emperor is consumed by deep self-blame, regretting he couldn't greet her more warmly before. If only he could have been gentler with her. If only he could have expressed his feelings sooner. Perhaps Leanna wouldn't have shown such an expression when hearing his confession. After searching for so long, the Emperor still hasn't found Leanna. She responded to his confession with silence and then left. He feels utterly dejected. This expected outcome, he can only blame himself. But why does his heart hurt so much? He should have been prepared. It shouldn't hurt this much. Fireworks suddenly burst brilliantly across the night sky. These fireworks, he had been so looking forward to watching them with Leanna. At that moment, screams suddenly come from the banquet. It's an attack! The Emperor is instantly alert. What's happening? Under cover of the fireworks. This assault strikes the palace. Solace and Titus rush over, reporting the attack with panicked expressions, asking with concern if His Majesty is all right. He decisively orders Titus to gather soldiers and the royal knights to protect the castle and control all entrances, and to take his knights to the banquet hall. Solace is very worried, reminding the Emperor they're His Majesty's personal guard. But the Emperor insists it's an order. They must protect everyone in the castle at all costs. Solace reluctantly agrees. The Emperor reminds himself to focus on what matters. There's no time for self-pity. Inside the banquet, everyone is terrified. Paul searches anxiously for Leanna. Upon seeing her, he quickly approaches to check on her condition. When his gaze falls on Raymond beside her, Paul pauses. He immediately shouts for guards. Protect the governor and Her Majesty. After this, he gently urges Leanna to return to the palace immediately. But Leanna doesn't respond, murmuring softly that it's Elvis. All of this today was done by Elvis and their group. Paul looks worried, again urging Leanna to get to the palace quickly. But Leanna falls deeper into self-denial, repeating that she can't do anything. She's full of regret. She thought she could change fate but changed nothing. She was wrong. Even giving her all, the situation keeps deteriorating. She hates her useless self. She's worthless. Leanna asks herself blankly, what fate am I even trying to change? Now with this happening, even His Majesty will be implicated. Even if she really became Mia from the original, the danger still exists. At this moment, Titus arrives at the banquet with knights, working to calm the panicked crowd. He announces loudly His Majesty's orders. The royal knights will protect the castle, and from this moment, all entrances are sealed to search for suspects. His Majesty also orders the Empire's first knight order to come protect everyone here. Titus continues calming everyone, telling them not to panic. The Emperor finally pushes through the crowd. He reaches Leanna's side full of concern. He apologizes for arriving late. He urgently asks if she's injured, but Leanna instinctively pulls away, unwilling to accept his concern. The Emperor tries to say something but is interrupted by Leanna's apology. She explains she was startled and lost her composure. Her tone is polite yet distant. She says sorry for worrying him. She'll return to Ravenna Palace immediately, so His Majesty needn't be concerned. Hearing this, the Emperor lowers his outstretched hand. The Emperor's heart fills with helplessness and bitterness. He can only instruct Paul to escort Leanna safely back to the palace. Paul respectfully accepts the order, promising to protect Leanna's safety. The Emperor keeps reassuring himself. It's safe there. She'll be fine. 3 days after the assault incident, Marquis Roderick finally arrives at the palace to report. As soon as he arrives, he immediately reports the latest investigation progress to His Majesty. They've verified the guests who entered and left during the banquet as ordered, as well as the whereabouts of the servants on duty that day. But the investigation has hit a dead end. Some people's whereabouts still can't be confirmed. Hearing this, the Emperor erupts in fury, demanding details from Roderick. Are there servants whose whereabouts remain unknown, or are nobles openly refusing to cooperate with the investigation? His tone is harsh as he commands Roderick to answer immediately. Roderick hesitates for a moment, but he speaks frankly. Count Glendon Trevor has refused the royal investigation request. Additionally, several servants from the banquet kitchen and storage areas still can't be accounted for. Even the invited Holy Temple personnel need to be investigated. Count Grayson immediately jumps in to object, calling the investigation of nobles outrageous. What will the common people think? Even the late Emperor never did such things. The Emperor coldly retorts, the people will only suspect nobles who refuse investigation. Rebel forces dared to attack the royal family. What right do nobles have to refuse investigation so brazenly? He questions whether such words are proper at all. The Emperor suppresses his anger and tells the Marquis to continue reporting. The Marquis quickly responds, they've thoroughly investigated Holy Temple personnel. The Pope is away on a holy pilgrimage to a neighboring nation. The high priests and all priests attended the entire banquet and never left until the incident occurred. But key evidence points to the Holy Temple. The craftsmanship and materials of this paper bearing Elvis's mark are only known to lower-ranking priests. Therefore, based on this investigation, they must obtain the Holy Temple's cooperation. At these words, most ministers are shocked. Will the royal family actually investigate the Holy Temple? Count Colin immediately stands up, insisting they absolutely cannot doubt the Holy Temple's loyalty. The Holy Temple has assisted the royal family since the late Emperor's reign. How could they support rebel forces? But the Duke supports this. It's the only evidence source they've found. They can't refuse to investigate, just because of cooperation. Count Colin protests anxiously, questioning how he can say this when he also has close ties with the Holy Temple. But the Duke states bluntly that Kael'vis is pushing their luck, from commoners to nobles to royalty. Now even the Imperial Consort and governor have been attacked. Who knows who'll be next? Count Colin remains deeply worried, fearing this will damage relations with the Holy Temple. Perhaps this is Kael'vis's attempt to sow discord. The late emperor maintained the empire's stability through the Holy Temple's power. They must proceed cautiously. Seeing this, the emperor says he fully understands the minister's concerns and worries. Despite everyone's objections, he insists on ordering a search of Count Grayson's estate. Regarding the missing servants, he orders subtle inquiries into their movements. As for the Holy Temple investigation, it will be postponed for now. This order causes uproar among the ministers. Count Grayson especially emphasizes his family's unwavering loyalty, but the emperor responds coldly. If truly loyal, he should cooperate with the investigation to prove his innocence. And they should think clearly about which matters more, noble pride or the people's safety. The emperor ignores further protests and declares today's meeting adjourned. He orders Marquis Roderick to act immediately and search the Trevor estate at once. After the hall clears, Talus broods alone, feeling the situation is getting worse. Leanna huddles in her room, desperately trying to recall the original story's plot. In the original, without Leanna, the Empire would achieve peace. And Mia in the original had nothing except his majesty, suffering endless torment from Leanna. And many people helped Leanna go after Mia. She racks her brain but can't remember. Are those people the current rebel forces? Then who has become the Leanna from the original? Who are her supporters? What is all this for? Why are these changes happening? She never wanted to marry or bear children. She thought being Imperial Consort in name only would be enough. Looking back, that idea was too naive. Now crises that weren't in the original have appeared, and she doesn't know what to do. Who can she even trust? Outside, Paul keeps knocking, worried about her. Leanna's emotions are mixed. Though the Emperor confessed his feelings, she doesn't know if she should accept openly. At this moment, she feels lonely and helpless, wishing someone could tell her everything will be okay. Intense loneliness and fear overwhelm her, making it hard to breathe. Looking at the newspapers, assault coverage, Sylvie can't stop worrying. Though the palace assault incident has been resolved, the suspects still haven't been caught, and there's no news about Her Majesty's condition. It's so worrying. That guy Paul must be safe, she prays silently. Paul suddenly opens the door, asking if they're still open. If not, he'll come back another time. Hearing this, Sylvie's heart jumps. Without answering, she urgently asks if he's all right, leaving him flustered. Sylvie impatiently tells him to answer quickly. Paul is startled and stammers, "Why are you like this?" Sylvie is stunned by the question, then completely loses it. "He's actually asking why!" She shouts furiously, "There was an attack at the New Year banquet. I was so worried about you. And you're asking why?" Paul is intimidated, stammering that he's fine, telling Sylvie not to worry about him. If he got injured, he couldn't take care of Her Majesty. But Sylvie suddenly turns away, saying there's one more person. Paul asks in confusion what she means. She suddenly hands Paul something, her tone serious. "Someone worries about you even more than I do. So no matter what, protect yourself." After speaking, she urges Paul to take it. Paul is somewhat moved, saying softly that he understands. Sylvie then asks how Her Majesty is doing now. Paul's expression turns grave. That's why he's here. Since the assault, Her Majesty has refused to let anyone near. He thought having her eat something she likes might help, but Sylvie doesn't think she's that fragile. Paul sighs. The longer he waits, the more worried he gets. If only there were someone close who could get Her Majesty to open up. His Majesty is busy investigating. The governor is still unconscious. Sylvie asks in confusion, "Isn't there still you?" Hearing this, Paul explains, helplessly. Her Majesty doesn't reject his presence, but still won't speak. If only there were someone Her Majesty feels comfortable talking to. Sylvie's eyes suddenly light up, asking if he really thinks there's no one. She knows someone like that. She pats her chest proudly. "The former royal pastry chef is right in front of you. What are you worried about?" Inside the palace, maids carrying desserts pace anxiously outside the door. They softly call for Her Majesty repeatedly, but there's still no response from inside. The maids exchange worried glances, discussing putting the food in the kitchen first, silently praying Her Majesty will recover soon. Inside the room, Leanna curls up, her heart unable to calm for even a moment. She even thinks it might be better to just go home, but if that causes her family to be harmed, she feels she can't do anything, doesn't know what to do, even has thoughts of giving up on everything. As despair spreads, sudden cries come from outside, maids shouting for mercy. Leanna looks confused. She didn't say anything. Paul must be back. A female voice laughs, remarking it's just like before. Paul signals her to be quieter. Hearing this, Leanna freezes. She moves cautiously to the door to confirm, listening to the conversation outside. Paul keeps reminding her to be quiet. Sylvie laughs, saying dressing like this is already being careful. This voice, is it Sylvie? She can't believe her ears. Sylvie's voice comes again. She says the weather isn't suitable for afternoon tea, so she asked Paul to sneak her in. She teases that the maids all fled in panic from Paul. Leanna quickly asks if it's Sylvie. Sylvie immediately responds, warmly, that it's her. She says she brought her special blend tea and fresh baked bread. Her regular customer hasn't visited in so long she had to come herself. Sylvie coaxes with a smile. Her Majesty loves afternoon tea, doesn't she? Leanna can't control herself any longer. She yanks the door open and rushes out. Sylvie immediately greets her with a smile. She teases that if Her Majesty had locked the door, she wouldn't be able to enjoy her favorite afternoon tea. Leanna throws herself crying into Sylvie's arms. Sylvie softly comforts her. "We're here. Don't be afraid." Marquise Roderick announces the results of investigating Count Grayson's household. No traces related to Kael'vis were found. Instead, they discovered Count Grayson's hidden items, large quantities of gems and precious metals. Therefore, they confiscated the irregular items and imposed fines. The hunt for rebel forces is back to square one. Such forced investigations have caused dissatisfaction among ministers, and because Count Grayson was investigated, Count Colin was also implicated. Rumors spread through the streets. Governor Raymond hovers between life and death, and public sentiment wavers. Worse, rumors spread wildly that Kael'vis will soon completely conquer the palace. A minister questions. In this situation, the governor found nothing and collapsed instead. Shouldn't he be held responsible? The emperor disagrees. What matters most now is catching the rebels and calming the panicked people. He orders Roderick to thoroughly investigate those servants' associates and strengthen patrols. As for the Holy Temple matter, he'll visit personally. The court meeting ends hastily like this, but the minister's reactions remain poor. Daelis gently advises His Majesty to proceed more cautiously. The atmosphere among ministers isn't good right now. The emperor speaks impatiently. Let them argue. Right now, forget criminals. They don't even have suspects. Seeing this, Daelis reports they're tracking the missing servants, but can only wait until the Pope returns. The emperor sighs melancholically. Only then can they formally investigate the priests. The emperor's steps halt as he suddenly looks up. His gaze falls on Leanna's room window. Seeing him go silent, Daelis calls softly in confusion. "Your Majesty?" The emperor's mind is full of Leanna, worrying if she still feels anxious. Usually at this time, she'd be taking a walk with Paul. Seeing this, Daelis immediately tells him he's heard Her Majesty hasn't eaten in days and won't leave her room. He asks if His Majesty wants to see Her Majesty. The emperor lowers his head dejectedly, recalling how Leanna pushed him away that day. He shakes his head in refusal. Even his presence can hardly ease her mind. Inside, the lights suddenly flicker. Daelis exclaims in surprise. The emperor feels slightly relieved, immediately ordering Daelis to ask the servants about it, and reminding him to take good care of Leanna. After handling this, return quickly to discuss the Holy Temple matter. He feels powerless. This is all he can do to protect her. Inside, Sylvie teases Leanna with a smile. With a knight like Paul, what's there to worry about? She deliberately asks if Paul isn't doing his job properly. Paul's face reddens as he explains he's always been diligent. Hearing this, Sylvie continues laughing at him. "Didn't expect you to be so eloquent." She turns to ask if Her Majesty remembers when she first met Paul. She says about a year ago, Her Majesty first brought Paul to the shop. Back then, Paul stared at the dessert counter like he'd never seen such things. Her Majesty nods gently. She even gave him desserts. Sylvie nods repeatedly, but there's something Her Majesty surely doesn't know. She told Paul he could come often if he liked. The next morning, before she even opened, Paul was waiting at the door. It startled her. Paul worried his presence would scare customers away, so he came early to buy and leave right after. Sylvie laughs admiringly. It was so adorable. Paul's face turns bright red, telling her to stop. He quietly complains to Sylvie. Why tell Her Majesty this? But Sylvie doesn't see what's wrong. Leanna says she wants to hear more of these stories. Sylvie shows a triumphant smile. Paul scratches his head awkwardly. As long as it makes Her Majesty happy, he'll accept it. Sylvie's eyes light up, telling Her Majesty to just let Paul know if she wants to see her. Paul immediately objects. There won't be a second time. Sylvie asks back. Her Majesty says it's interesting, so why can't there be a next time? Paul protests anxiously. This shouldn't happen even once. Her Majesty watches them both, finally understanding everyone hopes she'll feel better. She hesitates privately. Would it be inappropriate to confide in them? She knows they're keeping her company with good intentions. Confessing won't change anything, but she still wants to speak. Leanna takes a deep breath, softly calling Paul and Sylvie. She wants to try telling them the secret in her heart. The words reach her lips, but Leanna swallows them back. If she tells them this is the world of a book, they'd either think she's gone mad or that she's joking. They might even think it's psychological trauma from the assault. Fortunately, chatting with them gradually lightens her mood. Compared to overthinking alone, she feels much calmer now. Sylvie suddenly asks curiously, has really no one entered this room all this time? Guessing the answer, she asks with concern if Leanna's feeling better. Leanna forces a smile, responding softly that she's fine now. Sylvie continues asking if they've caught the attackers yet. Paul replies that His Majesty is personally involved in the investigation and investigated nobles too, but they still haven't found suspects. Leanna is shocked. No one dared stop him? Paul nods. Of course there were, but it's already done, and the Emperor personally investigating has triggered strong backlash. Sylvie could guess just from reading the newspapers. Paul adds that the Emperor also plans to personally visit the Holy Temple. Unclear if it'll go smoothly. Everyone's speculating he might bring Saint candidate Mia along, but so far these are just rumors. Leanna feels instinctively disappointed. If the Emperor really takes Mia to the Holy Temple, that's a key plot point from the original. Will fate ultimately return to the original's predetermined course? She shakes her head desperately in denial. Everything is already vastly different from the original. In the original, she attacked Mia many times, but in reality she's never done so, though His Majesty was cold to her just like in the original. But words that should have been said to Mia in the original, he said to her instead. Just from this, the Emperor doesn't seem to resent her. She just can't understand why. Sylvie notices her strangeness, asking softly if she has something to say. Leanna snaps back to attention, her face full of confusion. Sylvie says bluntly, after Paul mentioned the Holy Temple, she's looked worried ever since. Is she unhappy because she heard the Emperor might take the saint candidate to the Holy Temple? Leanna's heart jumps, quickly waving her hands in denial. No, absolutely not. She explains she's just worried the minister's opposition will cause trouble. It's definitely not because of that. His Majesty doesn't care about her anyway. But Sylvie asks meaningfully, do you really think the Emperor doesn't care? She heard from servants that every time the Emperor goes to the meeting room, he deliberately looks toward your room. Just now he specifically asked about her condition and reminded servants to take extra care of her Majesty. Sylvie analyzes. Perhaps the Emperor has been worried about her all along, just doesn't know how to approach. After all, no one shows such care for someone they don't care about without reason. Sylvie encourages her. It's okay to try opening up to the Emperor. Leanna's eyes are confused. If she's really become the Mia from the original, the Emperor is the only one Mia could trust unconditionally. If so, staying by the Emperor's side might be the safest choice, but would he be willing? After leaving, Paul is relieved Her Majesty seems happy. Sylvie says smugly she knew it all along, but Paul still looks worried. Sylvie asks in confusion what he's still worried about. Paul looks guilty, saying he seems to have said something to Her Majesty he shouldn't have. As soon as the Holy Temple was mentioned, Her Majesty's expression changed. Sylvie suddenly realizes. She falls into brief contemplation. She comforts Paul. That wasn't saying the wrong thing. Rather, it was an opportunity. Paul doesn't understand what she means. Sylvie looks at the leaf on his head, suppressing laughter as she explains. Perhaps those words reminded Her Majesty of something she'd overlooked. As she speaks, she reaches up to remove the leaf from Paul's head. Sylvie asks back, didn't you notice? You can tell from Her Majesty's expression. Paul remains silent, his face full of confused helplessness. Sylvie sighs helplessly. How could he possibly understand? He doesn't care about anything except food. Paul's cheeks flush uncontrollably as he thinks to himself. She was too close just now. Thalos presents the Holy Temple priest roster. He goes through the list. The Pope, 3 high priests, 5 bishops, and 22 ordinary priests. The Emperor looks down at the documents, confirming if the Pope is away from the Holy Temple on a holy pilgrimage. Thalos responds respectfully, yes. Hearing this, the Emperor decides to visit under the pretense of bringing the saint candidate, while also discussing the assault incident. He sees that the Holy Temple also desires to meet the saint candidate. If he brings her, they'll surely agree readily. This move might break the rumors of discord between the royal family and Holy Temple, but the Emperor knows well that these actions alone can't appease the people and ministers. Investigating noble estates has triggered massive backlash and rampant rumors. Thalos believes calming public sentiment is most important now. The Emperor muses that ministers will probably argue for a while longer. As he ponders countermeasures, a servant suddenly announces that Imperial Consort Leanna requests an audience with His Majesty. Seeing the Emperor suddenly stand up, Thalos calls softly in confusion. Your Majesty? The Emperor murmurs to himself. Unable to believe Leanna actually wants to see him of her own accord, his heart overflows with joy, unable to tell if it's a dream or if he's floating from euphoria. No wonder the sky is especially clear today, and the breeze especially refreshing. Hearing this, Thalos looks speechless. But then remembering she hasn't eaten in days, he hurries to notify servants to care for her, then quickly tells servants to report he's coming right away. He's extremely nervous. When he sees her, he should first ask about her health, whether she's eaten, and if she's sleeping well. Seeing this, Thalos quickly speaks up, telling the Emperor to go see Her Majesty without worry. He'll handle the Holy Temple matter. He wants to say more about the Emperor's worried expression, but the Emperor has already run off excitedly. Before leaving, he tells him to record Leanna's visit in the palace records. Thalos looks troubled. Palace records can't document such things. Meanwhile, the royal knight politely informs Leanna to wait here briefly. Leanna thinks to herself, staying by His Majesty's side is indeed safe. All along the way, the palace security is tight, completely different from Ravenna Palace. Just as Sylvie and Paul said, the aftermath of the assault has been largely handled. Compared to Ravenna Palace, staying here is definitely safer. Now she just needs to think of a suitable reason to stay here legitimately. In her thoughts, she suddenly remembers Raymond. Her heart fills with panic. She quickly reassures herself she's fine. This is His Majesty's room, very safe. Just then, the Emperor suddenly enters holding flowers and a gift, excitedly asking if she's been waiting long, and confesses that in his heart, nothing is more important than her. Seeing her pale face, the Emperor immediately orders the Imperial physician summoned and tells others to leave. Leanna quickly waves her hands. She doesn't feel unwell at all. The two finally meet, but the air fills with awkward atmosphere. Leanna looks at the Emperor's concerned expression. She really can't bring herself to speak. She also sees the Emperor wants to speak but can't, looking at a loss. Leanna breaks the silence. First, apologizing for worrying His Majesty during this time. The Emperor immediately objects. It's not like that. I'm the one at fault for bringing you here and making you worry. Leanna freezes. His Majesty, whom she hasn't seen in days, seems even stranger. The Emperor quickly asks if she has something to say or any needs. Leanna hesitates briefly, finally admitting she came to discuss an important matter. She tells the Emperor that though she's much better, she still occasionally recalls scenes from the assault. She still feels afraid in the palace, and asks if she can go somewhere else safe. The Emperor urgently interrupts, promising to always be by her side to protect her, begging her not to leave the palace. Perhaps it's hard for her to believe, but his feelings for her are sincere. He can't help but pour out his his feelings. Not a day goes by that he doesn't miss her, worrying about how she's doing. Hearing this, Leanna feels somewhat awkward. Maybe she should just leave. The Emperor adds, if she still doesn't feel safe in her current residence, would she be willing to move to his palace to live together? It's the safest place in the Empire, and he can take better care of her. He begs her to agree to this request. Leanna suddenly feels all her previous worries were for nothing. The maids discuss privately. His Majesty and Her Majesty are finally living in the same room. This is their first time living together after marriage. The maids can't hide their excitement. They secretly wonder, will something happen if this continues? At this moment, a minister passes by, complaining that though the Emperor said he'd visit the Holy Temple personally, the palace minister is going instead. Another minister explains it seems to be for the Imperial Consort's safety. He finds it even more absurd. In this situation, what's more important? For 2 years, His Majesty ignored the Imperial Consort. He's certain this is just an excuse. The maids feel worried, but believe His Majesty must have already anticipated the minister's reactions. But this is a decision made for Her Majesty. If the two of them have some good news, these rumors will dissipate. Thinking this, the maids picture romantic scenes between them. Reality, however, is that the two seem as distant as a galaxy apart. Leanna feels deeply embarrassed, just wanting to crawl into a hole. 2 days later, His Majesty arranges unused palace space as Leanna's residence. But Leanna only feels overwhelmed. Maids bring piles of desserts, informing her these were prepared by mobilizing all the royal pastry chefs, and asking with concern how Leanna is adjusting here. Leanna just feels a headache. This is too much. Next, His Majesty's gifts arrive. Leanna can't believe it. More gifts! Maids also bring in piles of gifts. Leanna urgently tells them to stop bringing more. She says bluntly she lacks nothing. Take the gifts back. The servants quickly apologize but insist she accept them, because these are His Majesty's orders. If they fail, His Majesty won't let them off easily. Hearing this, Leanna feels concerned and can't refuse anymore. A servant seems to have more to say, glancing quietly at Paul. Only then does Paul remember. He abruptly invites Leanna to come to the corridor. Leanna is full of confusion. Paul speaks deliberately, would like to have afternoon tea with you. Walking in the corridor will reveal surprises. Just walking in the corridor will improve your mood. Leanna hears him reciting mechanically and instantly understands it's His Majesty's instruction. She feels anxious, guessing something extravagant is about to happen. The moment the door opens, Leanna is stunned. The corridor has become extraordinarily magnificent. Seeing Leanna, the Emperor immediately calls her name excitedly. He explains that since going outside isn't convenient, he created this little garden for her. Leanna internally complains, how is this little? She instantly understands. The Emperor knows she usually takes walks with Paul at this time, but this is really too extravagant. An indoor garden plus magical petals. Leanna is about to speak when the Emperor expresses his feelings first. The Emperor admits he suddenly thought of her while working. Blushing, he praises her as perfect as an angel. But these sweet words strike Leanna like lightning. She honestly tells him she doesn't need such special gifts. Hearing this, the Emperor is instantly dejected, blaming himself for doing wrong again. He murmurs softly, I just wanted to make you happy. Seeing his dejected appearance, Leanna's heart softens. She reaches out to accept the flowers. She says softly, thank you for your Majesty's thoughtful preparation. The Emperor immediately brightens, promising to give her even more beautiful flowers next time. Leanna quickly interrupts, saying, simple pastries will be fine next time. In Raymond's dream, his mother praises him for being so good and reminds him to be a useful child. The scene suddenly shifts as Raymond jolts awake from the nightmare, his heart still pounding. After recovering, he reflects that he slept longer than expected. Adrian reports to Raymond. His Majesty personally directed the investigation and barely managed to stabilize public sentiment, but forcibly searching noble estates met fierce resistance. Combined with the impact of the royal assault, public sentiment grows increasingly unstable. Adrian can't help asking if Raymond is really all right. After all, the imperial physician specifically warned him not to push himself. But Raymond only asks about leads on the suspects. Adrian reports helplessly that His Majesty and the investigation units tried their best but still have no leads. They haven't even found witnesses. Worse, there are rumors that even more terrible things will happen. He believes they should focus on calming public opinion now. Meanwhile, on the road to the Holy Temple, Mia asks Thalos in confusion why she has to go too. Thalos explains patiently, it's to test her divine power. Mia immediately refuses vehemently, insisting she has no divine power. Thalos deliberately scares her, saying he's considering installing bars on her windows. Mia curses that he's insane. Hearing this, Thalos sneers, dealing with fools does drive me mad. Mia is furious and speechless, pointing out the finance minister's words are too hurtful. Thalos ignores her complaint, just telling her to sit properly and stop moving. Mia mutters quietly it would be better going with His Majesty. At least her mood would be better. Thalos raises an eyebrow. Do you still have lingering feelings for His Majesty? Mia's face instantly flushes red, accusing him of such words. She complains Thalos always treats her like an idiot. Who would want to travel with him? Thalos tells her indifferently, you were originally supposed to go with His Majesty. Mia's eyes light up. Then why was it changed to the finance minister? Thalos explains His Majesty didn't want to leave Her Majesty alone in the palace. Her Majesty still needs rest, and His Majesty wants to personally stay by her side. Sadness shows in Mia's eyes, but she smiles and says that's fortunate. She was worried before. Hearing this, Thalos looks at her, pondering the truthfulness of her words. But Thalos reminds her to worry about herself first. After all, the divine power test is coming up. Mia complains dissatisfied, appointing her as saint without permission, then testing her. Thalos asks back, "Do you want to eat and stay for free?" she says anxiously. "Will they arrest me when they discover I'm a fake saint?" Thalos says he never had expectations of her anyway. Mia retorts, "That's not comfort, it's a blow." Thalos raises an eyebrow sarcastically. "You can't even tell comfort from advice." Mia is provoked, shouting they might as well just arrest her. She cries that she wants to go back to the palace. Thalos reminds her helplessly to sit still and not move around to avoid injury, then explains he means he and the horse will get injured. Mia is annoyed. Just as she thought, she mutters pitifully that she wants to go back. She can't possibly be a saint. She's already made it clear. She has no divine power at all. Suddenly she remembers she'll waste tax money, sarcastically saying the finance minister will be in trouble. She even makes a vicious vow. If she passes the test, she'll be his dog. At the test site, the high priest congratulates her on passing perfectly. Mia can't believe it. People around express admiration, saying her divine power is the greatest of all saints. She's definitely received divine blessing. Mia can't believe it. She only touched the tree. The high priest solemnly explains this sacred tree has proven her identity, and her power is the strongest in history. Someone suggests announcing it to the whole empire would inspire people, but the high priest refuses. The high priest explains it's too early to make it public. They must have Mia's consent. Moreover, she only possesses divine power now. She still needs training to use it. Mia's mind goes blank. She can't believe she really has divine power, and the strongest in history at that. Though she doesn't understand what a saint is or how to use divine power, but her confidence instantly soars. She feels she's an amazing woman. Mia is ecstatic. Amazing people won't be imprisoned or worry about going hungry. She excitedly cheers that she's an invincible saint. Thalos can't help but complain. Can't tell if she's a saint or a madwoman. He can't help worrying. Will people accept her as a saint seeing her like this? But Mia laughs loudly, exclaiming the Plyssia Empire is so lucky. Thalos' expression is complex. Whether they accept it or not, as long as she has divine power, there will be times when it's useful. The high priest, just learning the test results, exclaims these results are so delightful. He gestures for Mia and Thalos to sit. Thalos seizes the opportunity to propose a nationwide saints tour. Mia looks bewildered. This is too sudden. Thalos elaborates on the long-standing good relationship between the royal family and Holy Temple. The royal family funded the Holy Temple's needs. The Holy Temple granted the royal family higher authority. The Holy Temple stands alongside the royal family, deeply rooted in people's hearts through sacrifice and devotion. But after the late emperor's reign brought stability, people's interest in religion waned. When life is worry-free and stable, occasions to pray naturally decrease sharply. Mia doesn't understand what this has to do with her. Thalos quickly interrupts, describing the sensation a saint's appearance would cause. He states bluntly this is a perfect opportunity to attract followers and reclaim public sentiment. The high priest keenly sees through this. This matter isn't only beneficial to the Holy Temple. Thales immediately adds, this is equally important for the royal family. The previous assault made public sentiment unstable. If the royal family escorts the saint on tour doing charity, the saint doing charitable activities in both names, their relationship will become closer. He believes this is a win-win situation. Mia loudly questions why no one considers her opinion. Thalos ignores her, calculating internally. Compared to Kaelvis, these words might be better. No need to create friction with the Holy Temple. Calming public sentiment is most important. He firmly believes hearts are fickle. The saint can definitely shift public focus. The high priest approves of his proposal, but can't decide alone. He admits that due to loss of followers, the Holy Temple has been deeply worried, but the Holy Temple upholds ideals of freedom and equality. All decisions require Mia's consent. Mia immediately declares proudly she absolutely won't go. He immediately says he'll return to the palace to report, not giving Mia a chance to object. Mia doesn't understand why they need to discuss this. She refuses adamantly again. On the way back, Thalos persists, urging her to reconsider, not understanding why she's so resistant. Mia states bluntly the tour has nothing to do with her. It only benefits Thales. Thalos argues this is for the royal family and for her. He states bluntly that public perception of the royal family isn't good now. If the saint appears now, it could restore their trust in the royal family, and it's also a good opportunity for her to tour the empire. He reminds Mia that after becoming a saint, the future will only get busier, and promises she can name her reward. After the tour, he'll help fulfill one of her wishes. Mia's eyes instantly light up. She urgently asks if any wish is okay. After receiving confirmation, Mia immediately agrees. Thalos consoles himself this is a sacrifice for the greater good. Mia mentions his majesty and her majesty's care. She doesn't want to be ungrateful. Thalos casually reassures her not to worry too much. As long as she doesn't cause trouble, it'll go smoothly. Mia rolls her eyes, complaining this isn't comfort at all. Since she's agreed to the tour, Mia starts seriously considering preparations. Thalos suggests she discuss with those people. Mia turns in confusion, discovering the tour group is already prepared. She swears she absolutely won't let Thalos off easily. Watching Mia's departing figure, Thalos breathes a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he prepared well. Having resolved Mia's matter, next he should investigate Kaelvis.